Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, TV, streaming, all sorts of good stuff. And guys, it's Friday. Congratulations for making it through to the end of another week. I hope you have a wonderful weekend filled with fun or relaxation planned ahead of you. And we're joined today, back from moving again, Robert Meyer Burnett, not froze frame anymore.
No, John, you know, today is the first day of my 8th year on YouTube.
That's
and
right.
you were there the first day. The first day I was ever on the internet was with you.
We were doing an episode of AMC Heroes.
Episode 6.
With you, me, and the late, great John Schnepp.
And here I am 8 years later, John. Well,
going into the 8th year. Yes, during the 8th year. Well, I'm glad you made it this far.
And I think going into a new studio, I mean, I've watched your meteoric rise in this space. You know, you struck out on your own, and now you've brought the team together. It's like you put together your own Impossible Missions Force team. You are Tom Cruise.
Well, I'll tell you what, we get our keys today.
Yay!
We get our keys today to the new studio. Now, we're not moving into the new studio we're not going to start broadcasting from the new studio until the first week of May. But we get our keys today, and I'm super stoked about that. And one of the guys who's going to be carrying all the stuff into the new studio, he's going to be joining you in the live chat today, Mr. Ray Ora.
Hey, I would just want to make this quick announcement. John, I haven't even told John yet, but yesterday I was contacted by I guess a viewer of the show who offered me some work for the weekend, and
the weekend as in the time on the calendar, or the rap artist?
Just the week. No. Just the weekend. Just the weekend. And he made me this offer, and I thought it was a joke. He sent me some videos of what they do, the process of their graphics, whatever. And I just said it can't affect the show, or like what I do on the John Campea Show. He reassured me. I still thought it was a joke, but later, like at 12:30 at night, his boss calls me on video call, a lady. And unless it was like some real crazy studio set, whatever, it looked legit, but it told me that they're not from this country, because calling someone at 12:30, I mean, she had a security guard.
Or maybe she's just really dedicated.
But anyways, I accepted the offer because it was like an opportunity. And I don't know if you guys ever heard of the company. They're called Lumen Industries.
Oh my God.
I believe. And her name was Miss Cobell. Miss Cobell. No one's ever heard of her? But anyways, I just want to say that show is the greatest. I binged the whole show. Yay! It's only one of 3 shows.
You binged the whole thing?
The whole
Did you
thing.
fall asleep?
No. I was like, this
By the way, for everybody who
good.
doesn't know what we're talking about, the show Severance.
I was like, this is such a mind trip. Whatever they're on that wrote this, I was on it without being on it. I mean, oh my God.
The infused
I just can't believe you binged an
One
entire
of only
show.
4 shows that I binged. Like, as soon as I watched the first episode, I went through it. Breaking Bad, Severance, One Punch Man, and Ultraman. That's it. Those 4.
Wow, that's in a collection,
yeah, I was gonna
collection
say,
of shows.
That speaks well to the broad base of interests you have,
I
right?
cannot wait for season 2. What a mind trip that is. What a mind trip. Wow.
So good.
Anyway, also beside Ray, someone who's also watched Severance, our own, what's her name? Healy?
Helly.
Our own Helly R.
Oh, yeah.
It's
But
Chris Carr.
A little less macabre. Slightly.
Our own Helly R. It's Chris Carr. How are you doing today?
One of my
I'm doing
favorite words in
great.
the English language, macabre.
Macabre, really? That makes sense for your film tastes. I like that, Rob. Wonderful, wonderful. I'm doing great. It took me like 45 minutes to get here today because everyone's left town, I guess, for Easter or something.
Me too. It was like,
great.
I just zinged here. I'm like, wait a minute. What am I going to do with this next 15 minutes?
You know what I found out though? I was planning on going to play some poker tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm.
I usually go to Palm Springs to go play some poker at a casino resort out there called Agua Caliente Hotel and Casino Resort.
Hot water.
It's anyway.
Pop,
But
pop,
then
hope drive.
Anne was telling me, you may not want to do that. I'm like, why is that? She said, Coachella's this weekend. And it's out there. So you may not want to make that drive. And I thought, you know what? You're probably right. Probably not going to make that drive. Anyway, guys, we don't need to drive anywhere. because you're right here joining us. It's good to have you here joining us for the show today. And here's how today's show is going to go, guys. We break the show up into two parts. In the first half of the show, we talk about some predetermined topics. And in the second half of the show, we take your live comments and questions. Now, when we get near the end of our main topics, we're going to open up the super chat feature and allow you guys to fire in comments and questions. I'm going to warn you, it's only going to be open for about 5 minutes because it fills up fast, but it will be there and waiting for you to go. Also, before we get rolling today, want to remind you that if you need your daily fix of the John Campea Show or our other shows, but you can't be in front of a YouTube video, maybe you're working out at the gym or you're commuting or whatever, good news, there is an audio-only version of this show that we simply call the John Campea Show podcast, and it is available on all your favorite podcasting apps of choice. Just go and search for that and subscribe to it. But we also have 2 other podcast feeds. We now have a completely dedicated individual podcast feed for Mailbag. So if you guys want to participate and listen to Mailbag on a podcast format, just go and search for Mailbag, a John Campea Show podcast, and you'll find it there. And also we have a separate podcast feed for Movie Club. And of course, we just did Captain America Civil War. Very exciting. We're about to start all 3 chapters of the Lord of the Rings saga. We're about to do all 3 of them. Make sure you join us for the next episodes of Movie Club next Tuesday. But again, go and find the podcast feed and subscribe to it today. Okay, guys. With that all down, let's get going into some off the tops here, shall we? And our first off the top is this. One of the only financially disappointing MCU projects is also a project I thought was pretty damn good and pretty imaginative and very, very different for the MCU was the Eternals. And one of the best things in the Eternals is I ship Druig and Makari. That was one of the best things. And Barry Keoghan, who is in that. Then, of course, Barry Keoghan went on to be in the Batman. He's going to be the new Joker over there. Well, Warner Brothers seems to have this thing where work for Warner Brothers, get arrested, because Barry Keoghan has been arrested. He has been arrested, though, for public intoxication, which, of course, my Irish friend wrote to me earlier today and said, Irish guy gets arrested for being drunk. Newsflash, which I thought was pretty funny. Anyway, it's nothing important, though. It's honestly nothing big at all. We got, because I started getting flooded with messages about Barry Keoghan's been arrested. Barry Keoghan's been arrested. Okay, that sounds pretty bad.
Was he singing Danny Boy on a sidewalk?
Yeah, you'd think so, but honestly, it really isn't anything. This comes to us from the folks over at CBR who write, the Batman star Barry Keoghan was arrested in Dublin, Ireland for public intoxication. The police were called to the apartments after getting reports of a man on a balcony in an intoxicated state, the source says. When they arrived, he wasn't threatening in any way, but was arrested and brought to the Garda station where he was dealt with before being released. The matter is finished and nothing more will come of it. So basically, the gist is this. Guy noticed that Barry Keoghan was out on a balcony drunk. You know, maybe he felt that this guy could be in trouble by being on a balcony and being drunk. Called the police. He was for public intoxication. There was no issues. There was no problem. He wasn't threatening anybody. There was no violence involved. They arrested him, took him down, then released him. All is good. So yes, I will admit that when I saw the headline first and I saw the emails coming in, I'm like, oh God, no, not Barry. No, not Barry. Damn it, Barry. Fuck you, Barry. As Jason Momoa would say. I'm like, no, not you. Don't get in trouble. Please don't get in trouble. Turns out it was really nothing big. I heard about this. Rob, I get it being reported, but am I downplaying this or am I right in thinking this is much ado about nothing?
Dude, I don't know. I mean, one of the places that I've always wanted to go to in my life is Ireland. I sadly have never been there. But if somebody gets reported as being drunk on a balcony in Dublin, Ireland, I would wear that as a badge of honor because that's got to be a special kind of drunk, a real drunk, a true drunk, not a drunk where you're going to get into a brawl or something. But I see somebody who's getting that smashed. Maybe he was drinking Kilkenny, the cream of Ireland that's made by Guinness. I wish I was on that balcony with him, drunk as he was, because if somebody noticed us on a balcony, I would be like, Barry, this is the best time I've ever had. This is exactly what I dreamed my time in Dublin would be like. Unless it was Sing Street. You know, that would be kind of cool too.
I just always wanted to go because that's where U2's from. I wanted to go and see where did U2 form and stuff like this. That's what I want to go.
Or after seeing Far and Away with Tom Cruise, when he said to Nicole Kidman, you're a corker, Shannon. A corker. I always wanted to go meet a redheaded carker like he did.
It's a beautiful, beautiful place. I mean, everything that I've seen from it. Chris, you hear about this again. Look, to me, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing this story. I'm like, oh no, he's got arrested. And then I read what happens. Like, okay, so this is nothing, right? This, or am I downplaying it? Could this be more serious? I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I am kind of the same camp as Rob here of how drunk do you have to be in Ireland? Goodness gracious. And I was really worried of, oh no, I hope he didn't get arrested for drunken disorderly conduct. It just sounds like it was somebody looking out for him to make sure that he didn't do anything stupid on that balcony. And, you know, I talked to Rob about the bachelorette party I was at all weekend, so I can't cast judgment.
I mean, also, it is upcoming on Easter. And I would think that in Ireland, you know, the good Catholic country that it is, well, not just Catholic, I don't want to say, you know, I don't want to get in any trouble, but I'm like, I think the place to be drinking pre-Good Friday and pre-Easter is Ireland. Wouldn't it be?
I would think so.
I want to go so bad. I want to walk to every distillery and try everything, single spirit. I want to go with Barry.
I'm going to go with Barry next time. Anyway, guys, the question is for you. Barry Keoghan has been arrested. It really doesn't seem like it's anything or worth any headlines, really, to be honest. But since so many of you guys wrote in about it, I thought we should address it. I think it's much ado about nothing. Maybe you guys might be thinking in some ways that, hey, John, this actually could be more serious. Whatever your thoughts are, jump down into the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's do another off the top here, shall we? And that is this. Speaking of DC drama, it's going to be a bunch of that today. We talked about the other day about how, first of all, a few weeks ago, we found out that Black Adam for the 73rd time had been delayed and bumped to a new release date. It's now going to be opening in October. So there's that. And then the other day, we heard that, you know, there could be other reasons why it was delayed and all this kind of stuff. And the fact that they're just going in for reshoots now, that seems very suspicious considering that this movie was going to come out in December of 2021. And now you're just going in for reshoots now, and that raised a lot of questions. Well, I thought I should follow up on this because I did get contacted. I will not say by who, but I did get contacted after the fact because I was saying this is really suspect to me. Like this something's going on here. But I did get contacted, and I want to read you exactly what it was they sent to me. And I got to say, this makes it all seem like it makes more sense now. So here's the real reason why Black Adam got delayed, and the real reason why they're just starting reshoots now. This is what I got. Black Adam was originally supposed to do its reshoots in February at Trilith Studios in Atlanta, where they did principal photography last year. But almost every soundstage at Trilith will be in use until the end of April for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Other smaller projects have been able to move into Trilith, but Black Adam needs more significant stages than that Guardians of the Galaxy are currently occupying and striking. So, the reshoot timeline is nothing drastic, just a mismatch of schedules between different productions at the time. That's why the movie's release got delayed in March. The reshoots were already planned. Warner Brothers just couldn't find the time or space to do them until May. So, it appears that the thing I was getting a little bit worried about, because it's like, this suggests to me that things are wrong with this movie and blah, 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 blah. Well, what's the name of the rule that says probably the most simple answer?
Occam's razor.
Occam's razor, thank you. The most simple answer was probably the right one, which is this was a matter of logistics. That obviously we all knew that the pandemic threw production schedules off for like years, but now that we're on the other side of it, the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 got in there, all that kind of stuff. It's just a matter that they couldn't get in there to shoot what they needed to shoot. And since that had to get bumped, the release date had to get bumped. I wish they had just come out and said this.
Yeah.
Rather than being kind of nebulous about it and then putting out some kind of thing of a backlog of VFX work. It's like VFX people got to work from home they're like, what are we talking about? This to me actually makes more sense, and I feel better about it now. Because, you know, I've been excited about Black Adam. So hearing this to me makes me feel much better about this. It was just an issue of logistics. Rob, you're hearing about this. What do you think? Does this make sense to you, or does this sound like a smokescreen?
No, it makes complete sense to me. And you brought up visual effects. A mutual friend of ours was telling me the other day that certain executives at a major studio were worried that Sonic 2 was not going to make its release date. because the VFX pipeline, all of these movies, whether it's Aquaman, whether it's Flash, whether it's Sonic, the VFX pipeline around the world is jammed. There's so many people doing visual effects now. They don't have enough people. They're working 24/7 to get these things done.
That's because visual effects company get driven out of business because they're not getting paid enough. I mean,
yes.
we live in an environment right now where the more work a visual effects company gets, the worse it is for them.
It's
crazy.
It is legitimately a big problem because everybody's doing VFX now. So that's why I think a lot of these delays have been occurring, and call it a supply chain issue or whatever. But I absolutely believe, I mean, Atlanta is a boom town in terms of production. You've got Tyler Perry Studios there, you've got Pinewood there, you've got everything that Marvel is doing there. I mean, it's incredible. They're just doing tons of stuff there, and there's only a finite amount of space and time in any given day or week or month. So this makes perfect sense to me, and I think that's why Warner Brothers didn't just push one movie; they pushed their entire schedule, and they've moved up Shazam, I believe, and that's because Shazam had finished production a long time ago. So I don't think this is nefarious. I think all of these major, whether it's a Star Wars movie, whether it's a Marvel film, whether it's a DC movie, they've now built in reshoots into these schedules, and they have to worry about when they can schedule them because they like to work on the film. You edit the film, you see where you're at before you do your reshoots, so you can come in and fill any holes. So this doesn't seem nefarious to me at all. This is now par for the course, and I think the reason that the studios don't explain it more is because it's become so routine. It's we out there going, oh, they're reshooting that. What's going on? It's terrible. No, that's not the case. These are scheduled reshoots, and they're scheduled as part of the production, the normal production of these films.
Right, which is part of the reason why I was a little bit suspect, because it's like, wait a minute, this movie was going to come out in December, and you didn't do reshoots, and now you're doing reshoots. But now that we get this explanation, kind of makes more sense. Chris, you hear about this? Does this kind of settle the waters for you, or do you think there's still something fishy going on here?
This makes me feel much more comfortable because Rob just did an excellent impression of me yesterday where I was like, what's going on? This is hinky. Because I was really worried that they were maybe pivoting and making their films different because of the success of the Batman and changing it to fit that kind of Matt Reeves vision. And this makes me much, much happier. It's a logistics issue. Just talk about it though, guys. Communication.
Or when they don't, like the Thor Love and Thunder reshoots that have been going on for the last couple weeks. But it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing.
Now what they can do is and people talk about how, well, we're this far away. Star Trek the Motion Picture was dropped on Paramount Plus. When it was being
Is
scored,
anybody surprised we're getting a Star Trek comparison here?
Jerry Goldsmith was scoring that movie 10 days before it got released. 10 days. And that was 40 plus years ago. Mm-hmm. So there is magic that can be done. I mean, these movies are very iterative now. Say they want to get a shot. Wouldn't it be great if we had a shot of Thor and Jane right here? Because they're looking at a cut. Well, they can be like, we can go do that. They can literally shoot something and drop it into the cut that day with the technology now.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, I know for me, who's been really looking forward to this Black Adam movie, and I was getting a little bit worried about after what we heard yesterday. To me, this seems to settle it all down, and I think this makes all perfect sense. Just a matter of logistics. What do you guys think? Do you buy into that, or do you think there still might be something going on? I personally buy it. Whatever you guys think, jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, we want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of today's video, Peloton. Now listen, in the never-ending quest to try to stay in shape, one of the keys is to vary up your workout and your exercises to make sure you avoid losing your motivation and keep from getting burnt out from doing the same thing over and over again. Peloton has you covered. I know for me, one of the keys was getting my Peloton tread and using the Peloton app to get my varied workouts in. And Peloton just keeps pushing you forward with new classes, new music, new ways to keep your workouts fun and motivating. One of the newer offerings that has me personally personally really excited is their boxing classes. Peloton is stepping into the ring with its newest discipline, and you don't even have to have any gloves. Discover a fast, furious, and fun workout with Peloton instructors in your corner. Even if you've never boxed before, these classes will have you working up a sweat while working on the fundamentals of form, footwork, and fun combos that will keep you on your toes. Peloton has a workout for every day and every kind of schedule. So guys, right now, visit onepeloton.com to learn more. That's ONEPELOTON.com. And a big thank you to the folks at Peloton. We love our Peloton for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Remember, guys, by supporting our sponsors, you're supporting us. And the links to all of our sponsors are actually down in the description of this video today. All right. With that down, let's do one more off the top here, shall we? And that is this. Continuing on with Warner Brothers, there is, of course, a movie coming out called Batgirl. And fortunately or unfortunately, depending on the way you look at it, one of the big reasons people are talking about Batgirls has nothing to do with Batgirl, has to do with Batman being played by Michael Keaton in this movie. This obviously got everybody excited. Of course, I got thrilled when I found out that Leslie Grace from
Love
In the
her.
Heights,
Ugh.
who... listen, to me, In the Heights might be the most underappreciated film of last year.
Agreed.
I adore that movie. Like, I never knew anything about it before, and literally Ann and I, as the end credits started playing, we got up and we started dancing in the aisle of the movie theater. I love
Once
this
again,
movie.
no video.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear about you dancing unless we have the
It
video.
wasn't breakdancing. It wasn't breakdancing.
Any dancing. It pull a little La La Land in the theater. That would have been a wonderful thing to see.
That would have been a
That's
little bit more
100
graceful.
million view video right there.
So anyway, Leslie Grace being in it. There was another DC movie that was supposed to go straight to Warner Brothers HBO Max, which was Blue Beetle, but it's getting a theatrical treatment. I'm still kind of thinking that Batgirl may get the theatrical treatment, although for now, it is still scheduled to be an HBO release. Question has been, how will this movie be? Will it actually be good? Well, apparently, according to Leslie Grace, it's good, and they're already talking sequel at this point. This comes from the folks over at Joe Blow who write the following. Leslie Grace was talking. She laughs. She says, we got to see this one first, but there's definitely some talks about what it could be. I've seen somewhat of what we shot, obviously in the playback and stuff like that, and it's insane. We're already talking about where do we take this from here, because there's so much that happens in this film. There are a lot of different themes in the plot that we touch on. It's not just the action. There's a love story. There's this father-daughter relationship. There's looking at the world through the lens that isn't just black and white and seeing color and the spectrum of things. She went on to say that, talking about Michael Keaton being on set in the Batman and seeing Michael Keaton on set, she writes, it was wild for everyone. Our directors were like two little kids. They're legit Batman nerds openly. He is Batman. I couldn't even believe I was sharing the space with Batman. I want to say more, but I can't. It was just insane, surreal, incredible. It was the stuff that dreams are made of, really. And that comes to us, of course, from Leslie Grace. And look, of course, the cynic is going to say, newsflash, actor praises their own movie. I mean, I guess I get that. Obviously, you have to take it with the slightest little bit of grain of salt. I understand. But when they start saying that there is already now talks about a follow-up and a sequel, obviously when these films get made, the producers are making these films in the hopes of it becoming a franchise. That's where the real cheddar's made. Obviously, the hopes are there, but you got to get there. And if they're seeing these dailies, and I believe they wrapped production recently, if I'm not mistaken, but maybe I was thinking about another movie, but if they're looking at these dailies and they're saying, you know what, it's time to start planning the second one, that bodes pretty well. It's also pretty exciting because all I can imagine I think Christian Bale was a better Batman than Michael Keaton. I think Ben Affleck was a better Batman than Michael Keaton. I think Robert Pattinson was a better Batman than Michael Keaton. But there's none of them. If I could have my choice of who would I freak out and geek out the most of if they walked into the room in their Batman costume, I'm telling you right now, it would be Michael Keaton. That's the one I would totally bomb my mind out of with Control, because I grew up with that one. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I was going to say, because the different, we have that favorite and best thing going on.
Oh, yeah. I think these guys are better. We're better Batman. I prefer their iteration of Batman. But so much of my life was knowing him as Batman.
Yeah.
And so that would be a supreme moment. I mean, I went to the world premiere of the remake of RoboCop, right? And I was standing there with Michael Keaton. And I was like, I haven't been that nervous since standing in a room with Weird Al Yankovic. I know that sounds weird, but that's me.
It's a great sentence.
No pun intended. No pun intended. But standing there like 2 feet from Michael Keaton and getting to speak to Michael Keaton. But man, if he walked into a room in a Batman outfit, I would have lost my freaking mind. That would have been like the most incredible thing ever.
Him as Batman, that costume with the bat shield, the bat symbol, it's more, I mean, I love the Bale Batman, and I think Ben Affleck's Batman, that suit's great, but there is something about that yellow and black bat insignia.
So iconic.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's something about, I think you might be right about that. Like with that, the way the cape works. I mean, I know he couldn't move as well, but dude, I think you're right. Michael Keaton in that Batman suit, if he walked in here, I'd lose my stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. 100% lose my mind. Chris, what do you think about what we're hearing from Leslie Grace? First of all, about the concept about that now they're already talking sequel. I love hearing confidence in movies from studios going in, like as we're getting ready to come into them. This sounds like a vote of confidence to me. Her enthusiasm here is kind of infectious to me. What do you make of her words and freaking out over Michael Keaton as Batman, the possibility of a sequel? What do you think?
Well, first of all, I think Michael Keaton would agree with you that he's not the best Batman. He's gone on record talking about, I didn't really embody the comic book character like other people have. And it's one of the reasons why he ended up bowing out, was he was like, I don't think I'm doing this character the way some people want this character done. He had fun, he got out, and he's iconic in the role. Obviously, when you're an actor and you're promoting a project, you are going to say great things about it because hindsight is 20/20. And then after the fact, you get to go, oh yeah, we all knew it was a stinker, or oh, we all knew it was great, right? Or some people stand by their project. I love that they're talking about a sequel, but I am confused why we're not talking about it going to the big screen then. Like, I feel like that's the first step here before we talk next installment is, yep, you guys are getting what you want. You're going to see Keaton back on the big screen interacting with Batgirl as we want Batgirl and Batman to interact, not that animated movie nonsense that we had in The Killing Joke. So that's kind of where I'm confused right now. Is this trying to big it up so when it does come to the big screen, it all makes sense? Or are we just going straight to HBO and that's it?
Well, look, I'll tell you the thing that makes me feel, there are two things that make me feel like there's still a decent chance it gets moved to the theaters. Obviously, number one is the fact that they did that for Blue Beetle. Actually, I'm going to say there are 3 reasons why I believe there's a chance Batgirl could go to theaters. One, Blue Beetle, right? It was also supposed to go to HBO Max. They've decided to move that over. By the way, other Blue Beetle news, Sharon Stone has dropped out of the project. She's been replaced with Susan Sarandon.
Dude, I'm crying.
Yeah,
crying.
Like Academy level actresses swapping one for another, perfectly fine. So it comes out in the wash. So that's number one. Number two, there's new ownership. David Zaslav is now the boss. And so you could get a different philosophy about the Batgirl and all that kind of stuff with the new boss. The third reason I think there's still a chance, and I'm not saying count on it, I'm saying there's a chance. The third reason I think there's a chance Batgirl could still end up going to the movie theaters is because, okay, who's going to sign up to HBO Max for a Batgirl movie? I think you could get a lot of people interested and check it out, but I don't know that there's a lot of people that are going to go, well, I didn't have HBO Max before, but I'm going to go get it now. Whereas if you put it in theater, you can make some money, build some momentum for it, then put it on HBO Max, and then people who saw it in the theater who aren't HBO Max subscribers, you have to go, oh, okay, yeah, maybe now I'll check it out. So there could be a business case for that as well. Again, right now, let's be clear. The plans are officially still for this thing to go to HBO Max. Those are still the plans, and it may stay that way. I just think there's a chance.
That's perfect. That's perfect for me. I mean, I was telling the chat, like, low-key, I've been excited for this movie. I want to learn more about this Batgirl. I like the character in Injustice.
Low-key?
Like, yeah,
low-key. Love and Thunder?
No. Yeah, so I can't wait to see this. Hopefully it's not too long. So if it's bad, then I don't have to dread over it. So that's it.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? Leslie Grace, the star of Batgirl, is saying that they're already talking about the sequel now. Everybody's freaking out over Michael Keaton as Batman. Do you think it'll stick on HBO Max? Those are the official plans right now, by the way. Or do you think there's still an opportunity there for this thing to go theatrical? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys, with that down, let's move now into our main topics today, shall we? And how do we select our main topics here in the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You see, you guys come up with them. Whenever you come across a big topic, issue, or story that you guys feel we need to cover as a main topic on the show, just go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's absolutely free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, Chris, what is our first main topic today?
Our first topic comes from Eric Dunn. Hey, John, a while back, I got excited about a new movie they announced called Man from Toronto. I'm a good Canadian kid, so I was just happy Toronto was in the title. But back then, Jason Statham was going to star in it. I don't know what happened, but I just saw an announcement that Statham is out and Harrelson replaced him to co-star with Kevin Hart. And now the movie is just going straight to Netflix. Is this a bad sign for the movie?
All right, thanks a lot for saying that in, man. And yeah, I still remember, I think I might have still been... I might have still been at Collider AMC when the first news of the Man from Toronto came out. And it sounded great. It's the idea of this hitman known as the Man from Toronto ends up accidentally crossing dates and stays in an Airbnb when another average guy, played by Kevin Hart, goes in there. But I was kind of excited about it at the time because it was going to be Kevin Hart and Jason Statham. I love Jason Statham in these roles. Maybe he's a little bit typecast for these things these days. That's fair to say. I don't care. I still like him in these roles. And I thought the idea of him playing against Kevin Hart would be pretty good since I really love the way he played against Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and Dwayne and Kevin often work together. I thought it could be pretty fun. Then we heard the news fairly shortly afterwards that fell through and Jason Statham withdrew. And I can't remember exactly why Jason Statham walked away from it. It might have had something to do with some creative input or something like that. Can't remember. He walked away from it. A little bit later, they announced that Woody Harrelson would be taking his place, and it would be Woody Harrelson and Kevin Hart. I don't know, and I remember saying this at the time, but a 60-year-old Woody Harrelson. By the way, Woody Harrelson's great. I love Woody Harrelson.
I do too, yeah.
But could he pull off what Jason Statham could pull off? Because Jason Statham's a trained martial artist. He can do all this kind of stuff. Could Woody Harrelson bring to the screen in a believable way? Obviously, they can still use stuntmen, but the way that Jason Statham could, I lost a little bit of my interest for it and kind of fell off my radar. Well, now it's going straight to streaming. Something that Sony said, we don't send our movies straight to streaming at CinemaCon last year, other than movies that are conceived of as streaming movies. So what happened here? Well, let's take a look at it. This comes to us from the folks over at Variety who write the following. Kevin Hart and Woody Harrelson's action comedy, The Man from Toronto, is headed to Netflix, Variety has learned exclusively. The Sony Pictures production, originally dated for an August theatrical release, has sold in a worldwide rights deal to the streamer in all territories barring China. The transfer falls under the exclusive first-look Sony deal signed with Netflix last year, on the heels of its notable windowing agreement with the tech giant in 2021. The film revolves around a case of mistaken identity after the world's deadliest assassin, known as the Man from Toronto, Harrelson, and a stranger, played by Hart, run into each other at an Airbnb. Chaos soon follows as the assassin's world comes crashing down on Hart. Netflix will release the film later this year. So here's what Variety is talking about. Variety and Netflix signed a deal last year, a couple of years ago, I can't remember exactly, that Netflix will become the streaming home of Sony's movies once they're ready to go to streaming, barring outside agreements. But Netflix also got a first look deal. Not a first look deal at all of Sony's movies, but first look deals at movies Sony made with the intention of going to streaming. Which means if Sony contacted me and gave me $10 to make a movie about the life of John Campea, so that's about as much as that movie's worth. But to say, just, this is going to be made for a streaming service. We're going to make this for streaming. Then Netflix gets the first right to take it. Now, Netflix can turn it down, and then Sony can shop it to other streaming services, but anything that Sony makes that is meant to go to streaming, Netflix gets first crack at it. Well, what happened here? This was intended to be a theatrical movie. This was intended to go to theaters. They've got a bunch of movies lined up right now that are coming to theaters over the next year and a half. Why did this one suddenly go? Well, the answer is obvious. This movie's shit. I mean, I haven't seen it. I can't say that definitively, but it seems pretty obvious. It seems pretty obvious to me that they looked at this thing and realized, yeah, this isn't very good. And this isn't going to make any money at the box office. We better get something for it. We'll put it to streaming. Well, if we're going to put it to streaming, Netflix gets first dibs at it. So Netflix said, sure, we'll take it. And away it goes. So this is not great news. Remember, this is not a situation that Sony made this movie for Netflix. If that was the case, it could still end up being good. But when Sony, a studio like this, who is so committed to the theatrical release model, when they go, yeah, this movie is for release in theaters, and then after it's all done and all the post-production starts wrapping up and they're looking at it and going, yeah, let's dump this one off on Netflix. Again, I haven't seen the movie. For all I know, I could watch it and think it's the greatest thing since Citizen Kane. But
it's not.
Right now, look, come on, honestly, does anybody doubt that the reason did this is because this movie's probably crap? I mean, I'm saying it's absolutely, the possibility exists it could be great, absolutely, but this doesn't happen in a vacuum. This happens for a reason. I'm going to go on the assumption that it's absolute shit. I will, when it comes time to watch it, I'll go into it. I'll take that baggage and I'll leave it at the door and I'll judge it on its own merits. But for right now, I feel pretty safe in saying I believe this is getting dumped on Netflix because it's crap. Rob, you heard this story. What's your expectation level journey been for The Man from Toronto from its original inception, dropping Statham, now it's going to Netflix? What are your thoughts?
I would say that you're probably correct in your assessment that it's not a very good movie, but something has happened that has now, I think, caused a sea change, and that's Ambulance. Now, this decision might have been coming for a long time before Ambulance came out. The fact that Ambulance, a Michael Bay joint, Bayhem to the extreme, a movie that I've heard more people tell me they liked it. You didn't, but I've heard other people tell me they've liked it. I was surprised by this. But the fact that Ambulance didn't just do poorly, it tanked. It tanked. And normally an action film like an Ambulance, a Michael Bay movie, it could be, you could get something out of it. You're assured of getting at least decent box office. Well, not anymore. And I don't know when this decision was made. It was probably made, like you said, they looked at it in post and they knew this was coming. They shopped it to Netflix. But I think people are going to take a long, hard look at action cinema now and decide, should we make this? Because if Michael Bay can't bring people in, who can? Do we have to make Taken 87? Or Blacklight 47 or whatever Liam Neeson's in. But even those movies, those grindstone movies that are made through Lionsgate, unless you've got John Wick, where is action cinema today? How is it viable in a theatrical marketplace?
I think people are overreacting to Ambulance. I really do. Because I remember when Ambulance was coming out, I said, these trailers look like garbage. I'm not interested in it. And let's not pretend like this happened in an Ambulance. What has Michael Bay directed that has been a big hit since Transformers?
Well, nothing.
I mean, and so that's the thing, right?
But he has a pretty good track record.
But then his most recent thing was 6 Underground, which was
Netflix.
Terrible. That went direct to Netflix. It was a terrible movie, despite having my favorite movie star in it. That was a Ryan Reynolds film. And it was still absolutely brutally awful. And it opened on the same weekend that another movie that made $71 million at the box office opened. I just think I'm hearing a lot of people saying
Sonic 2, I mean, and look at where
that ate up a lot of the box office. And I just think a lot of people are overplaying this thing because hold up. It's not like it's a Transformers movie that flopped. It's a crappy looking, coming off of 6 Underground, coming off of what was universally understood to be a terrible Transformers movie, Michael Bay's last, and this movie didn't do well. And we're reassessing where the whole position on action cinema.
Hang on a second. I'm not just talking Michael Bay here, but I think action cinema in general is something that has, because you've got Lionsgate releasing all these grindstone movies and you've seen all these low-budget Bruce Willis programmers and all this stuff, that unless something is really special, unless John Wick is busting caps in dudes' heads, and he can do that very well, you need a certain, or Dwayne Johnson's in it. You need a certain heady, and even Dwayne Johnson's Red Notice, $200 million movie, was a Netflix film. I really do think
that was an original. Like that was conceived of and sent direct.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm like, dude, I miss low budget B action thrillers. You know what I miss? Brian Bosworth and Lance Henriksen in Stone Cold, one of the greatest action movies ever made, directed by Craig Baxley, an amazing second unit director. Where is that? And we've lost it. Unless we got John Wick. I think that action cinema, we need like Gareth Evans to come back and make the Rad 3.
But I mean, that's the thing. Like I think now action films, there was an era in the 80s where if your movie was shit, it's fine. Like it's an action film. Audiences, when it comes to action, I think have become a little bit more sophisticated.
I know.
That now if you're going to do it, listen, I fully believe there's a big audience for good action films.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, like as you were pointing out, John Wick, right? You put out something that's exceptional and really good.
And beautifully made. The John Wick movies are beautifully made.
It will attract its audience.
Absolutely.
And the audience will come to it. You crank out Michael Bay shite. And I'm a Michael Bay guy. I'm a Michael Bay defender. But this movie was crap. Right. And some people liked it, and that's great. I went with Erin Cummings, and she enjoyed it. But it looked like crap. And it opened against a movie that had a $71 million opening. So when I saw it, listen, did I think it was going to make $8 million? No. But I honestly thought it would make 12. I really didn't. I never thought.
What does it say about our culture that Sonic the Hedgehog 2 versus Ambulance? There's something going on.
One is
we
better.
love things that are delightful and good.
One's better. I'm sorry. Sonic is better. It's a better experience. You just go there. You're delighted. You have a lot of fun, and I mean, hey, if you're really into drone shots, maybe Ambulance.
That's true. Yeah,
is for you. And
but
there's some crazy car action.
You do have to expect more of these films, though, like you were saying. It can't all be Tombstone Pizza. It's not good enough to be like, here's some explosions, and you go, that's a movie. Like, we want more from it. We want our scenes to make sense. We want the explosions to have payoffs. We want character development. And as much as people can appreciate a very, very attractive Michael Bay heroine and all the butt shots you want to do of her, we need to have storytelling.
No, it's funny. I totally agree with you. I think back to Martin Brest, director Martin Brest, who made Beverly Hills Cop and Midnight Run. Those were great or Walter Hill doing 48 Hours. We got great characters with great interplay. But like Beverly Hills Cop opens with a truck chase. A semi truck is being and Eddie Murphy's swinging and the Neutron Dance is playing. But it's a real semi-truck smashing through, like, on the city streets of Detroit, real cars. And you feel it, man. You're like, wow. And I recently, because the 4K disc came out, I recently rewatched that opening scene, and that is a stellar bit of action. And nowadays, I mean, I would love to see something like a Midnight Run or a Beverly Hills Cop.
Sure, but getting back to our topic at hand here, talking about Man from Toronto, I mean, I still think
it could be good.
I acknowledge the possibility exists it could be good, but I think if Sony thought it was good, I think they would put this thing in theaters like they always planned on it. And all their other stuff they're keeping in theaters, so it's like
Woody Harrelson and Kevin Hart, though, that just appeals to me.
I was gonna say, and what we're lacking in maybe action ability, Woody Harrelson. I mean, come on, that is Academy Award level acting, like, right? And Jason Statham, I love him to pieces, but I remember that Dungeons and Dragons movie. He doesn't always bring the gravitas.
That was the Werner Herzog movie, right? Not Werner Herzog.
Uwe Boll.
Uwe Boll.
There we go.
Not good.
Yeah, no, that wasn't good. But
he's the anti-auteur.
But I mean, I love Woody Harrelson. Yes, Academy level actor. But I also saw him in that one he just did with Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Oh, Kate.
Yeah. I mean, so look, if this is a role that requires some dig deep acting, give me Woody Harrelson all day.
Yeah.
You want an action comedy? I'll take Jason Statham over Woody Harrelson.
What about like Zombieland?
He's great in Zombieland.
I didn't like the original Zombieland all that much, but I did prefer the second one.
But still,
he's not bad. But again, I just think Jason Statham is I mean, obviously Woody Harrelson's the better actor.
Okay, let me ask you.
But I think Jason Statham would be a better fit for that.
Yeah.
Forget that it's about Canadians. You're gonna watch this, aren't you? Aren't you gonna watch when the man from Toronto comes on? You're gonna watch it, aren't you?
Yeah. Unless I hear from a bunch of my peers that I trust who see it before me say, "Oh," then I might give it a pass. But yeah, I will still plan on seeing it. I'm just saying, I will go to the theater thinking it's going to be crap. I will leave those expectations at the door.
Well, you can't go to the theater.
Watch it in. Why can't I go to the theater?
Because it's streaming.
Oh, that's I will go to my living room with my bowl of cheddar and caramel popcorn
and aviation gin.
And aviation gin. Thank
I love
you.
that we've been luscious all week.
I know.
Again, let me reaffirm to everybody, we are not sponsored by aviation gin. We just very much appreciate that someone over
Appreciate you, baby.
We just deeply appreciate that someone over there affiliated with Aviation Gin sent us a couple of crates of the stuff. So
I love that folks think that you drank it all, John. No.
Listen. I did. Let me be very clear about this, okay? Yeah, this bottle is now down to here in like a day and a half. But let me be very, very clear. Well, I have had a couple of drinks of these. Yeah. So I go out. We brought up one of our sponsor breaks the other day. I ran to the bathroom because I got 90 seconds to do it. And the bottle was here. All right. Bottle was about here because I drink about it. I come back from the bathroom and the bottle was here. And I'm like, what happened?
Down the primrose path by the ladies. They forced it down my gullet.
It was Aaron and Chris. It was Aaron and grabbed the bottle.
They're a bad influence on me.
How dare.
Anyway.
So I'm going to sell you down the river on the internet. You're in trouble now.
Man.
Question is for you guys. What do you think about the man from Toronto now going direct to Netflix? Were you guys ever looking forward to it? Maybe you have been. Maybe you think this is perfectly fine. There's nothing to worry about. Whatever you guys think about this right now, jump down to the comment section below and leave us your thoughts. We want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of this video, ExpressVPN. Now, guys, does it make sense that the same company who controls half the online retail also passively eavesdrops on your private conversations at home? Or what about the idea that a single company controls 90% of the internet searches, runs your email service, and gets to track everything you do on your smartphone? You guys know that big tech is more powerful than most countries are, and they profit by exploiting your personal data. It's time to put a layer of protection between your online activity and these tech juggernauts, and that's why I use ExpressVPN. You see, when you run ExpressVPN on your device, the software hides your IP address, something that big tech companies can use to personally identify you. So ExpressVPN makes your activity harder to trace and sell to advertisers. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your internet data to keep you safe from hackers and eavesdroppers on your network. So stop handing over your personal data to the big tech monopoly that mines your activity and sells your information. Protect yourself with a VPN that I trust to keep me safe online. Visit expressvpn.com/Campea. That's expressvpn.com/Campea to get 3 extra months free. Go to expressvpn.com/Campea right now to learn more. And thank you to the good folks at ExpressVPN for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 2, shall we? Chris, what is our second main topic today?
This comes from Steven. Greetings, Campea crew. I've seen some of the promo art for Thor Love and Thunder making the rounds on social media, featuring our main characters. I noticed that Star-Lord had his own promo art, but not the other Guardians. Does this mean his role in the film is much more significant than a cameo, or is this a marketing misdirect?
All right, thanks a lot for saying that in, man. Now, of course, the other day, we had our first look, I believe it was our first look, at the characters from Thor Love and Thunder in the form of toys, right? There was toys coming out, and we got a good look at some of the toys, and they look great. We got our first look at Ravager Thor, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
Most significantly, we got our first real look at Christian Bale's Gore the God Butcher.
Yes.
Which I'm hearing a bunch of people crying online about it. I thought it looked great.
Well, it just doesn't look exactly like the comic.
No, exactly. It doesn't look exactly like the comic book, but of course, you're not going to bring in a Christian Bale if you're just going to CGI over him.
No, he looked great.
I thought he looked great.
In the comic, it's like if Slimer and a Twi'lek had a baby.
Yes.
Like, why would you want that in the live
Right.
action?
Yeah, I personally don't think it would have translated well into live action, but other people feel differently, and I respect that. But I love
You know,
Thor.
Wolverine's not 6 feet tall, John.
Yeah, I don't know if people know that. Actually, there's probably a whole generation of people now
Yeah.
who just assume
What do you mean he's
Wolverine
5
is 6
feet?
foot, 6'2", 6'3". Anyway, guys, so another toy image got out. Now, there was one that came out earlier, just kind of at the side of the character. But now we've got a better look at the design of him. And this is the design we're looking at here. Now, he's still in his recognizable red, but this is a new design for it. He's also got metal plating on the outside. He's sporting a little bit more of a full beard now, all that kind of stuff. But what's really interesting, what gives us maybe a hint that Star-Lord, who I admit up until this point, I've kind of believed would only be playing kind of a slightly bigger version of a cameo in this movie. Like, not literally just a cameo, but maybe just slightly bigger than a cameo. It's kind of what I thought we'd be getting from the character. But according to the description on this toy box of Star-Lord, who, by the way, is getting his own figure, it says this: Peter Quill and the Guardians of the Galaxy return, teaming up with friends new and old to defend the galaxy from a dangerous new enemy. Now, look, I don't want to read too much, although that's what film fans do. We read everything into the slightest thing. Kevin Hart has blue shoelaces. Confirmed. He's the villain in Blue Beetle. I mean, that's what we as film fans do.
We don't read between the lines. We read between the molecules.
We read between the molecules of the lines. But reading that statement, to me, this suggests that Star-Lord, while maybe not as big of a role as, say, Hulk played in Thor Ragnarok, but seeing his own toy figure, reading the description that he's teaming up with all these people to fight Gore the God Butcher, this to me suggests that Star-Lord's going to be a significant player in this movie, which I never thought he would be. I thought he would be in maybe the first 5 minutes, while Ravager Thor is booting around the galaxy with the Guardians of the Galaxy, gets an urgent message from King Valkyrie that he's needed back for something, and then that would be the end of it. We'd get like 5, 6, 7 minutes of Guardians of the Galaxy. That would be the end of it. Now it's sounding like it could be something a little bit significant. I'll say this. If he is, I'm all in. Because I loved the banter between Thor and Star-Lord. I loved it. I want to hear the other Guardians of the Galaxy referring more to Thor's physique. What did Drax call him? He looks like an angel. Had an angel,
man
angel warrior baby, or whatever it is he called him. Constantly making poor Star-Lord feel.
And they both have a weight problem.
It's like a pirate and an angel had a baby.
It's like a pirate and an angel.
So Star-Lord pushing maximum density, he's one sandwich away. He was getting fatter. Thor, he's a little fat.
Well, if you saw the picture of Ravager Thor. That's not the case. We need an 80s Rocky workout montage.
I'm hoping. That's what I was going to say. Wouldn't that be funny? Like but it's not just a workout montage. They're competing. It's Star-Lord versus Thor in a workout montage. Who's going to get ripped faster?
Thirst trap to end all thirst traps.
I mean, and what piece of music will Taika Waititi?
Well, it would have to be 80s, right? It would have to be 80s.
I mean, it couldn't be Eye of the Tiger. It'd have to be something else.
What year did Eye of the Tiger come out?
Like the 82.
When did Peter get taken?
Oh.
Yeah, I think it very well could be Eye of the Tiger.
But the way they use the immigrant song in
yeah, but that's for action sequence. This is actual music that Star-Lord has on him. Come on, what better workout song would there be than Eye of the Tiger?
The Eye of the Tiger's already Rocky. I think if they use something that we hadn't yet, but if they use something that we hadn't, like I don't know. I don't know what it would be.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's move on to you hearing this description. They're putting out his own figure now.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a kind of a new, different look for it. What does this tell you, if anything? Like, am I reading too much into this? Because, oh, heavens, film fan, reading too much into something.
No,
but do you think this means we could see more of him in this movie than we thought?
I absolutely think so. Because remember, whatever's going on with the Guardians in this movie has to be the bridge to Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So I think that, Peter Quill has lost Gamora, and he's in kind of not a good place, and I'm sure Thor isn't in a great place either, even though they've just emerged victorious. I think the two of them as characters being damaged or wanting to change themselves, or like you said, the banter between those guys and what's going to happen. I think it's going to be, I do think that Peter Quill will jettison at some point halfway through the movie, but I think we're going to get some great stuff between the two of them, and I'm there for it, dude.
Chris, you're seeing this report. You're taking a look at the image. He's growing out the beard, new costume, says that he's going to be fighting alongside against this new enemy. Yeah. Does it point us towards that we're going to see a more significant role for him in this movie than we originally thought? Or do you still think it's going to be a relatively small one because there's a lot of other characters to be dealt with here as well?
Yeah.
I would think it would mean more screen time for him, because I went into this thinking it would kind of be like how we saw Tony in Spider-Man Homecoming. Just
right.
kind of like a little bit of guidance, getting Thor back on his path, maybe popping in at one point to be like, you're a danger to yourself and the Asgardians, Thor, just some kind of thing. I don't know. But now it sounds like he'll be interacting with him a lot more. And it would make sense for Star-Lord to maybe take a break from the Guardians, especially if we have different timeline Gamora hanging out with them. That might be a little too hard for Star-Lord to be around. So maybe he's going to go off with Thor, have an adventure, give her some much needed space. And going back to that fight montage, y'all remember, he has a Zune now. He can stream music.
That's right. Yes.
The possibilities are endless.
Oh, no.
I want to ask Ray this, though. Like, with Thor coming up, are you looking forward? Do you want to see? I can't remember how, like, are you a big Guardians of the Galaxy fan? Are you excited about seeing him in there? Do you think, we've already got Thor, and we got Gore, and we got Valkyrie, and I don't know. What are you thinking?
I love every interaction I've seen of Thor and Star-Lord. I just want more of that. I mean, I hope it doesn't get old throughout the movie. I don't think it is going to, but anything Chris Pratt is in, I'm in. Like, whatever. Jurassic World, this movie. If he's in it, he's one of those people that actually I like to see every movie they're in, just because of the charm, the energy they bring. But
Passengers?
yeah, I seen that and I actually liked it. That and,
Me
and
too.
Tomorrow War.
Yeah,
Tomorrow War
I
was
liked
good.
Tomorrow War. I did like. I
He
wasn't
was-
big on Passengers.
He was really good in Tomorrow War.
Yeah, I thought he was.
I
Quite
thought he was really
Tomorrow
good in Tomorrow
Yeah,
War.
that one worked. For
So I'm all in for Chris Pratt, and so I'm happy that hopefully he's in more of the movie than we initially thought he was going to be. So yeah.
By the way, this opens up the question too about how much of the other Guardians of the Galaxy we're going to see. We know that Drax is going to be there.
Rocket.
I think it's pretty safe to say that Rocket's going to be there. Yeah. We know Gamora's going to be in it. So that raises the question. It's like, is the opening of this film going to be them finding Gamora? Or will the MCU do what the MCU has done? Remember at the end of the one Iron Man movie, I am no longer Iron Man. And then the next time we see him at the beginning of Age of Ultron, I'm Iron Man. And they just skipped all that. Are they just going to skip all that? And like, we're going to start Thor 4 with the Guardians, including Thor, and Gamora's already part of the crew again? And like, they just go, I'm still not sure about you, but I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean,
because you can't spend a lot of this movie of them just searching for Gamora.
You know what? I think that Taika Waititi he has a singular sensibility of humor, and I've really appreciated. We watched him grow as a filmmaker. I think whatever he's going to do, it's going to be hilarious. It's going to be wildly entertaining, and I think he will take into consideration what came before. Because after you've pointed out many times, Ragnarok was a dark, dark film in terms of the MCU, and I think he's going to, with his brand of humor, he makes the spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down.
By the way, I was just gonna say, this picture I have up here with you in it, this picture just makes me smile. Star-Lord and Thor. I don't know why. I look at this, it just makes me smile. It makes me happy seeing that picture.
I think it's gonna be great, whatever it is. But I think they will take it because Gamora just walked off in Endgame.
Yes.
Like, where'd she go? So wherever she went, it's going to be interesting. And I think there's probably comic gold to be mined there. So,
But again, with her being in the movie and this not being a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, right? They're pretty much just going to have to skip over a big story, right? Like, I always thought at the end of Endgame, I thought, okay, so the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie is going to be it's going to be their search for Spock. It's going to be the search for Gamora. They're going to find Gamora, then reintegrate. But if she's in this movie, that means they got to skip over a lot of that. And Chris, let me ask you, what do you think the chances are that when we start this Thor movie, that they've already found her and she's already back on board? What's not the Milano anymore? What's it called? The name of is it the Benatar?
Yes.
Is it the Benatar?
Yep.
The new one is the Benatar. But I don't know. So what do you think? They haven't found her yet. They have found her. How do you think this starts?
I'm hoping they haven't found her, and maybe that's our first opening move is coming to where Gamora is, and kind of the pep talk of like, you've got this, man. Don't worry. Play it cool. It's going to be fine. She fell in love with you. It can happen again. Don't worry about it. Like, I think it'd be really sweet to have a moment like that between the two fellas.
What if Gamora falls for Thor?
Oh,
it is called Love and Thunder.
Running
After all.
her fingers over the old muscular contours in Infinity War.
I mean, what if they both get into tip-top shape?
It would make a lot more sense for her and her sister to talk about. It doesn't make sense for you to be in love with this one.
Right.
Why aren't you in love with that one? Yeah, I know. That would make more sense.
Yeah.
There could be some good sister talk.
Romantic
there, yes.
rivalry through the entire film. He's trying to win Gamora over.
And all this comes from one picture of a Star-Lord toy.
so we've had no plot or like synopsis or nothing really.
Other than Gore is showing up. I mean, and we know, of course, that Jane comes into possession of the reassembled Mjolnir and gets bestowed with the powers of Mighty Thor. But other than that, right now we don't know a lot.
Any chance of like them even trying to rebuild Asgard, something like that?
Well, no, Asgard's already, the new Asgard's on Earth.
Oh, okay.
Remember? So they've already got that. So, and I really do think we were talking about Hasbro before the show because of a certain earnings call that Hasbro is having on the 19th. I believe the trailer for this movie is going to drop on the 18th. If not, then we're going to get it a week later at CinemaCon, one of the two. Anyway, guys, we got to move on. Question for you is, what do you think about this new look of Star-Lord, and what do you think that means for his presence now that we hear about his description in Thor: Love and Thunder? Do you think it's going to be still just a cameo, or are you starting to think it might be a little bit bigger than that? Maybe Tony Stark size in Spider-Man Homecoming, maybe Hulk size in Thor Ragnarok. How big of a role do you think it's going to be? And where are we going to find Gamora in all of this? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 3, shall we? Chris, what is our third main topic today?
This comes from Franklin G. It's unreal that we're just over a month away from Obi-Wan.
Can't believe it.
And I couldn't be more excited. One of the coolest things we saw in the trailer, to me, was Reva, the third sister of the Inquisitors. I just read that she was actually a Jedi in training, and that the Jedi had originally taken her from her family before the fall of Order 66. And that she features more prominently than just a henchman in the series. What do you think about these reports?
All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Franklin. And yeah, it is kind of crazy. Look, obviously and understandably, we've been focused a lot on Halo. We've been focused a lot on Moon Knight, obviously. We've been focused a lot on Doctor Strange 2 coming. And we've been focused a lot on Thor: Love and Thunder. But he's right. Franklin is right. We are now just about 6 weeks away from Obi-Wan coming, which is damn exciting. And look, when that trailer dropped, obviously one of the really cool figures, obviously we have the Grand Inquisitor, which like, I cannot wait to see more of the Grand Inquisitor.
Dude.
That's going to be great. But obviously one of the more intriguing characters that we saw in the trailer was the third sister, known as Reva. And I will admit that I thought the real true villain of it is going to be the Grand Inquisitor, and that probably will kind of be the man behind the curtain sort of thing. But I was kind of going on the assumption that third sister was just going to be the, well, to be honest, the Darth Maul of The Force Awakens. Just kind of mean, evil, tough monster. Henchman shows up, battle, 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 nothing much more. But apparently, according to a new report coming out and new rumors going around, it's going to be actually more than that, and a little bit of her backstory seems to have been revealed that gives a little bit of a sense of tragedy to it as well. This comes from the folks at CBR who wrote the following. According to MakingStarWars.net, Moses Ingram's Inquisitor Reva, also known as the Third Sister, will be more than just a brutal antagonist. The insider notes that there is both humanity and rage behind her motivations, which will factor into Obi-Wan Kenobi's endgame. Reva is reportedly not an inconsequential villain, and her arc will have ramifications on the story. The show will seemingly explore elements of her tragic past, revealing how she was taken from her family and trained as a warrior for the Jedi. Following the events of Order 66, Reva is then presented with an option to die or work for the Empire as a part of his Inquisitorius, or become an Inquisitor. This is really interesting on a couple of levels. One is something that I'm not really happy with. There has been a movement, if you will, within Star Wars creators over the past couple of years that I've noticed that, and maybe even starting a little bit with the prequels, that, the Jedis are actually assholes. There's been a kind of an embracing of this idea. Well, it's like, if you really look at it, the Sith weren't all that bad. And if the Jedi weren't really all that good. Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, I'm not, as a traditional OG Star Wars guy, I'm not super comfortable with the direction that seems to be going in. That said, I admit that there is some pretty cool narrative storytelling you can do with something like that. So, for instance, if we were talking about Reva, the third sister, having been taken, not accepted into the Jedi Academy, not accepted to come and train, but rather like taken from her family, maybe against her will, maybe against her family's will. I mean, Star Wars has always been a little bit nebulous about once the Jedi identifies somebody, like, does the family still get a choice? Or do the Jedi just get to go, yoink, they're our kid now? Which I really hope that's not what they're getting into, because again, I don't like the idea of painting the Jedi and the Jedi Order as just giant assholes. But that being said, it creates some interesting story where you now have this character who is steeped in bitterness. And the most interesting villain motivations to me are villain motivations that are based in legitimate wrongdoing. That they suffered a wrong at somebody's hands, and that kind of turned them into what they then become. That's an interesting thing to me. So there could be some pretty rich storytelling here for this. Again, I'm already pretty stoked for this show. I find myself getting more and more excited as we go. More excited than I thought I would be when they initially announced the show. So I'm on board with this. Chris, you hear this background that third sister could play an important role in it, story-wise. You hear about the background rumors coming out now, things about her. What do you make of all this, and how does it hit you?
Oh, I love this, because I love when the Jedis are a little bit dickish. Because it goes back to just looking at institutions. Institutions cannot be flawless. They are run by people. Right. Jedi are still people at the end of the day. Whether they're different, various aliens, they're all still people with their own agendas, right? And so I love, like in Fallen Order, that teaser we got released, right? Of, hey, we didn't just say you could be a Jedi. We also abandoned your brother and screwed up like your family life and everything. Like, I find that very, very compelling. I also like a villain who's not just a mustache twirling villain. I like when there's a rhyme or reason and you have a very, very staunch belief in your cause, because no one is ever the villain of their own story. We're all villains in somebody else's. So to have that kind of backstory where we'll care about this character and understand where they're coming from, I think is a really smart move, and I'm real jazzed if it's true.
Rob, you're hearing this kind of backstory tour. By the way, where's your anticipation level just in general? Because we've been distracted with a lot of other cool stuff going on. Where's your thoughts on Obi-Wan right now? What do you think about this story?
I can't wait for this, John. I'm very excited for this show. But I think what's really interesting is, what if you had a Jedi trained from birth or taken from her family? When the Empire rose, she just decided, I like the Empire. I believe where Palpatine is taking us, and decides to go over there for whatever reason, taken from her family, because we've never really seen it. Star Wars is a traditional fairy tale, black and white, very much. It's like, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys.
If you have a British accent, for the most part, you're evil.
You're an evil person. By the way, when they moved away from that in Jedi, that was a mistake. But I think that it would be really interesting to have one of these three sisters characters decide that I embrace the Empire. I believe in the order they're bringing to the universe, because the Jedi have not.
We have seen that before in Inquisitors, in other stories.
Yes,
in other stories, both in Rebels and in Fallen Order.
And I've always liked that idea.
Yeah.
And I think that because you can't, obviously the Empire worked because some people embraced it. So why not? Why not have a Jedi decide, no, I'm going to go work for Palpatine.
I really believe in this stuff that Palpy is spinning.
Papa Palpatine, he's the one to go with. Love him.
I mean, he mechanized, industrialized. He brought a lot. He gave people something to believe in again, not some crazy religion.
Boom.
Although he is a Sith Lord, but it's all right.
Yeah, but nobody knows that.
The public doesn't know that.
Ancient religions are
Listen,
no
when we're
match for a
young,
good
we all
blaster at
join
your
cults,
side, kid.
okay?
Ancient religion and fairy tales. Yeah. So anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this story? I kind of like it. It seems to be fleshing out her character. I mean, I think practically speaking, she's probably going to be the main antagonist of the show, even though it's going to be somebody behind the curtain. So let's see where that goes. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. Uh-oh, what?
Every time I see Moon Knight pop up on that screen, I just get excited.
With that down, not for this one, with that down, let's get on to main topic number 4, shall we? Chris, what is our 4th main topic today?
This comes from Marco. Hi, John and crew. CBR is reporting that Hawkeye's chances of getting a season 2 are getting slimmer because it seems Disney is going to place it in the limited series category for Emmy's contention. Are you surprised at all by this move? What do you think about it? Keep up the great work and bring on the filthy.
All right, thanks a lot for saying that in, Marco. And yeah, listen, Moon Knight is out right now. We're 3 episodes in. We're halfway through the series. I have been loving this series. I haven't loved a Disney Plus series like this since WandaVision, at least on the Marvel side. And I've just been eating it up. Now, a lot of people have been asking a question lately that I've said it's not a big deal, no big deal, they'll work this out, about the fact that Oscar Isaac has only signed for 1 season, right? And we talked about this yesterday too. It's just like, you know what? That's not a big deal. We've already heard that Marvel said they're going to shorten the amount of commitments they're going to be asking. And if a project should move forward after its initial incarnation, then everybody will want to be on board with it anyway, right? Well, maybe not. It is starting to look like Moon Knight and Hawkeye, thankfully Hawkeye. Sorry, I'm not a Hawkeye fan. I'm a fan of the character. I just wasn't a fan of the series. But it looks like Moon Knight and Hawkeye are going to be one and done series. Because Disney just submitted their lineups and shows for Emmy consideration. Unsurprisingly, Loki was submitted, and it is submitted under the Best Drama Series, is where they're going. Not limited series, because Loki obviously says at the end of Loki returns in season 2. They're going to be doing another one. WandaVision, of course, was submitted in the Best Limited Series capacity because that's it. It was a one-and-done series, limited series, all that kind of stuff. There you go. Well, they just submitted Hawkeye and Moon Knight as limited series. This comes to us from the folks over at CBR who write the following. As reported by Variety, Marvel Studios is in the process of submitting its latest batch of Disney Plus series for a variety of Emmy Awards. Similar to WandaVision, both Hawkeye and Moon Knight have been submitted in the limited series category, suggesting that the shows will not continue for a season 2.
Right.
Contrastly, while Marvel Studios had initially intended to submit Loki into the same category, the plan was changed due to the confirmation that Tom Hiddleston's mischievous god will return in season 2. As per the Television Academy's official description of the limited series category, a show that is nominated for the award must tell a complete, non-recurring story and not have an ongoing storyline or main characters in subsequent seasons. Now, let me read that part again about what you need to do to qualify for limited series. It must be a show that is nominated for the award must tell a complete, non-recurring story and not have an ongoing storyline or main characters in subsequent seasons. Now, it should be pointed out that the rules for the Academy of Television for limited series has evolved the last couple of years. And they've had to do in the last year or so, they've done some revising and tightening up of those rules. Now, it should also be noted that under the current understanding of the rules of limited series, something like True Detective would still qualify as a limited series because it is a complete, non-recurring story where the cast from one season do not carry over into the next. Therefore, you could do you could do, if they wanted to, a True Detective season 4 and be completely good. But they had to submit Moon Knight in limited series. Now, I don't believe for 1 second that this means Moon Knight, we're never going to see Moon Knight again after the TV series. I don't believe that. I think he will pop up again in other things. But it does look like, unless Disney is completely just breaking the rules and they're lying through their teeth, which I don't think they are, Moon Knight is meant as a one and done, something that I didn't think would be the case, but it does look like not as big of a deal because I didn't like Hawkeye, but I love Moon Knight, and it looks like it is going to be a one and done series. Rob, we're hearing this now coming out. I really thought we'd hear them submitting it for best drama, like what they're probably going to be doing with Loki, but instead it's going to limited series. According to the new rules, you can't have a season 2 if you're doing this here. And by the way, one of the reasons they tightened up the rules is because of Big Little Lies.
Yeah.
That's because it was a limited series, blah, blah, blah. And then later they decided to do a season 2. So the Television Academy had to go back and change up the rules a little bit. So here we are. Rob, is this truly it for Moon Knight as far as the series go? And do you think we will see him appear in other things?
Yes. Okay, I think it is a one and done series. I think we're going to see Moon Knight. I'm going to keep this to myself why I think this. I think we're going to see Moon Knight in something else a lot sooner than you might think. But let's just keep that cryptic. But yeah, I mean, I think that, look, I've always thought that the MCU shows, John, were like the comic book limited series. You know, they would always do, Marvel had a great time doing limited series about various characters, whether it was a Falcon limited series or whether it was a Gambit limited series or a Venom, Lethal Protector limited series. And I always saw these shows as that. Like, I never expected them to have a second season ever. Now, Loki, they actually announced it. There will be a second season. WandaVision was clearly one and done because then Wanda's story will be continued in Doctor Strange. So it makes sense to me that these shows are limited. The Hawkeye show, you know, it told, not only did it just tell, that story was very specific. You know, it was very much, even the time of year. It's about one man trying to get home for Christmas, really. And I have no problem with that. I think Moon Knight, I think they have bigger plans for Moon Knight. They have a real movie star playing him. I think we're going to see him much sooner in a movie than you might think, and it makes sense.
So you are of the belief that we're getting this series, and then the series is that we're not getting a season 2. You're buying into that.
100%.
All right.
Because we're going to see him soon.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. By the way, Super Geek Movie Fan is writing in that, confirmed, Moon Knight is going to appear in Obi-Wan. Wouldn't that be? Hey, it is a desert.
I was going to say,
Hey.
It's a desert.
maybe
Tatooine's
there are
kinda like
pyramids
Egypt.
on Tatooine. I mean, who's to say that the Egyptian gods, why do they only inhabit one planet?
That's right. They could be in a galaxy far, far away. Chris, you hear about this. I mean, I'm kind of glossing over the Hawkeye thing just because I didn't like Hawkeye. But for some people, the Hawkeye part might be even harder to hear because there are people out there who actually really did like Hawkeye. But you hear about this. Do you believe that this all but confirms that Hawkeye and Moon Knight are not getting second seasons, or do you think there's another option here?
I think it absolutely confirms it. Hawkeye told the story it needed to. All right, because we learned a bit more about that redemption, that guilt that Clint was feeling. We also finally had proper Hawkeye stuff in there, right, with the hearing impairment and everything, which was very, very great to include. And it introduced us to Kate Bishop. If we're going to have another series tangential to Hawkeye, it's going to be about Kate. It's going to be
the
Young
Young Avengers series.
Yeah. For Moon Knight, I think, we's going to be in some films. That's what Oscar Isaac does. He's in movies.
Where do you
So
think the
we'll see him in
Mjolnir comes from? The reinstated Mjolnir. Just saying.
You think Khonshu puts Mjolnir back together again?
For what? Why does he do it?
Because
Hey, listen.
he's a
you know
fan
what's
of
sweet?
puzzles, and he just thought there was a thousand pieces.
I'm just saying. Just Google Moon Knight Mjolnir. See what comes
I was
up.
gonna say he was just like,
Just
you know
saying.
what, Steven, I've been a real dick. I think you're going to be friends with this very pretty angel pirate. Let me get my super glue.
Look, man.
Pretty
Look.
angel pirate.
All I'm saying. Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. Ray, let me ask
Just
you.
maybe.
You
Just maybe.
just maybe. You watched the Hawkeye series. You're watching Moon Knight. Do you believe this is the end for their series? And are you upset about that? Do you not care? What do you think?
Totally. Like I do want to see Kate Bishop in something else. Maybe like Rob said, a part of a Young Avengers team, because that's
was
where
there
I
from
think
the
they're
beginning.
going, somewhere, either in Disney Plus or like a theater movie. But Moon Knight, I just think this is just explaining who the character is, and then he's gonna come back in something too. So everyone is familiar with the character. I think he should appear in something else. He's a cool character. He should be in something. I don't know what thing, because I don't know who he's interacted with in the comics or who he's been a part of.
I want to see him and the Punisher together now after that.
But I do, yeah, I do want to see him. I want to see none other than Oscar Isaac play him, obviously.
Well, the Midnight Suns. I mean, that I'd love to see that.
This show, Moon Knight. I'm just getting a joy out of Oscar Isaac. Man, his transition from Mark to Steven, it's
good.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like I don't even like the Moon Knight character sometimes takes a back seat to Oscar Isaac's acting, which is crazy because Moon Knight is just like, he looks cool. The things when he takes out the weapons from his chest,
I love
the
that.
flips, jumping in front of the moon. I think every superhero needs to jump with the moon in the background.
Why is that not surprising to me?
They all need
Super
their Sailor
cool.
Moon anime moment.
Everyone would look awesome, even Hawkeye. If
I
he
want
did
now
it.
fan art of all four of us.
I was going to say maybe that should be
You
a
know?
new logo image for the John Campea
Yeah.
Show. The
But-
four of us in front of the moon.
Like the
Love
Disney
that.
Plus logo, but the John Campea
But
Show.
I'm saying, like, this never really happens to me when I'm watching anything. It's usually the character first, but Oscar Isaac has been winning a lot in the series, and I think it proves how good of an actor he is.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? Does it distraught you that we're not going to get a Hawkeye or a Moon Knight season 2? Maybe you believe for some reason that they're still going to do it anyway. Maybe there's something here we're forgetting about. Whatever you guys are thinking, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. We want to take a minute and thank the sponsors of this video, Liquid IV. Now listen, just one stick of Liquid IV added to 16 ounces of water will hydrate you faster and more efficiently than just water alone. It contains 5 essential vitamins like B3, B5, B6, B12, and of course vitamin C, with 3 times the electrolytes as traditional sports drinks. And what makes Liquid IV so effective is the science of cellular transport technology, or CTT. You see, it's designed to enhance rapid absorption of water and other key ingredients into your bloodstream faster and more efficiently. You know, Ann and I get up pretty early in the morning to go to the gym because we can't go to the gym at any other time during the day. And for the last couple of weeks, I have been drinking 1 full glass of water with Liquid IV. And all I can tell you is you can feel the difference during the workout. So go and grab Liquid IV in bulk nationwide at Costco, or you can get 25% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use the code CAMPEA at checkout. That's 25% off anything you order when you use the promo code CAMPEA, that's CAMPEA, at liquidiv.com. Experience better hydration today when you go to liquidiv.com, and remember, use the promo code at checkout, CAMPEA. All right, and thank you to the folks at Liquid IV for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Okay, guys, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 5. Chris, what is our 5th main topic today?
This comes from Chris Snyder. There have been reports that Warner Brothers is gearing up for a big overhaul for DC. According to internet research, essentially, this would mean that's a good chance that DC will be getting its own studio like Marvel Studios over at Disney. This is a big deal. No doubt there'll be major changes coming to the DCEU, one way or another, as they want a, quote, someone like Kevin Feige to oversee everything. The right play, or is the DCEU too much of a mess to correct without starting completely fresh?
All right, thanks a lot for saying that in, Chris. And yeah, let the dominoes start to fall. One of the probably the biggest news in entertainment this year has been the fact that Discovery has purchased Warner Media. That includes Warner Brothers, that includes HBO. They are now the owner of it, and the new company name is now Warner Brothers Discovery. And that's the new company, and there is a new boss in town in the name of David Zaslav, who is basically Bob Iger now of this entire thing. He's the boss and the guy in charge. And he's making some changes. Apparently, he's making big changes. And this isn't coming from Gus's movie reviews, gasstation.fart.
Love that site.
This, I love them. They're great. All the scoops. This is coming from Variety. That is saying they are looking at what they're referring to as a massive overhaul of everything at DC.
Right.
Because apparently David Zaslav believes the key to the true profitability of this new media company is the DC properties and the DC characters, which number one is like, oh my God, you mean the DC characters are actually going to be at a studio that a studio thinks they're a priority and thinks there's value there? Well, that's a step in the right direction right off the bat, right there. So this is great. This is fantastic. But what could this new move look like, and how does it really change everything? I want to read a bunch of this article because instead of trying to paraphrase a bunch of it, let's just hear what Variety had to say and why this is like so significant for what's going on over here. Okay, so we'll start with this. The new owners of all things Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are exploring an overhaul of DC Entertainment, multiple sources close to the situation told Variety. It's been less than a week since Discovery closed its $43 billion deal for Warner Media, less than what, what's his name is going to buy Twitter for.
Elon
Musk is going to buy Twitter for. But anyway, since Disney closed its $43 billion deal for Warner Media, joining one of the largest producers of reality programming with one of the most venerable entertainment brands under the new moniker of Warner Brothers Discovery. David Zaslav, the new boss, the CEO of the combined companies, and top leadership have been toying with the idea of turning DC into its own solidified content vertical, the sources said. All right, let's stop there for a second. Right there is major, major, major change. Over at Disney, they understood, look, Marvel is its own thing. We've got to give it its own division. Now, unfortunately, Bob Chapek has eroded some of that and taking a lot of the authority that Kevin Feige used to have away, but still, it's its own vertical. They create their own brand of movies, television programs, other things like that. Now they have their own animation studio as well. And they get to function and be dedicated to that, and they have their own oversight, and that has worked. Not that that's the only way it can work, but it has worked. Meanwhile, over at Warner Brothers DC, they have had no less than 5 major leadership shakeups in the last 8 years. Now, it sounded like at the time when they brought in, not Kevin Tsujihara, that's the former CEO, who was the guy it looked like he was going to be the new sheriff in town over at DC.
Walter Hamada?
Walter Hamada, thank you. It looked like at first when Walter Hamada was coming in that he was going to be that guy and be given that breadth of responsibility and authority. But it was all smokescreen. He certainly had some authority and some responsibility, but it was still a giant committee of people that were constantly being rotated in and out. I think it was Anna Sarnoff was the one who was kind of orchestrating that whole circus. So it was never really solidified or made to be given the type of system that had served Kevin Feige and the folks at Marvel so well. So the very fact that David Zaslav now comes in and says, hey, I'm looking up the road there in Burbank, because their offices are only about 5 minutes away from each other. I'm looking up the road there at Disney, and looks like they got their own studio for Marvel. They have their own leadership structure. They have their own vertical process, and they were able to make some pretty good stuff and have some consistency in leadership without 85 different hands coming into the soup.
Right.
This might be a good idea. Maybe. Who knows? I told you that David Zaslav taking over this thing was going to be good, and it's already paying off. Let's keep going in this article, though, because it goes further. The move would potentially affect DC feature film development in the Warner Brothers Pictures Group, streaming series at Warner Brothers Television, and the creative arm within DC proper, all in an effort to have the disparate elements more closely aligned in order to maximize the value of the superhero stable, one often seen as punching up against Marvel. And look, a lot of people cry and complain, and I get it, when, you compare DC to Marvel, but that is the reality. That we shouldn't be comparing the success of one to the other, but you cannot help it. Marvel has been crushing it for 14 years, and DC has had to celebrate the odd victory here and there. Where it's been one big, long ticker-tape parade for 14 years for Marvel. It's like, yay, Aquaman made $1 billion. Great. Then we had this and this and this. But yay, this other thing made... Okay, but then we had this, this, and this. And they're looking at, and David Zaslav is already recognizing there is great value in these characters if they are managed properly, and they got to start by acknowledging we are being compared to Marvel and their success and their victories, and we've got to do something about it. The article goes on. It gets even more interesting. Before the merger closed, Zaslav vetted candidates with experience in creating and nurturing blockbuster intellectual property with the goal of potentially finding someone to serve as the creative and strategic czar, similar to what Marvel has in Kevin Feige. One of those candidates included Emma Watts, which is why her name was brought up the other day, a former top film executive of 20th Century and Paramount, but it does not appear that Watts will take the job. One insider suggested that Zaslav was less interested in finding a creative guru and more eager to hire someone who had the type of business background needed to keep all the different factions at DC working more harmoniously. Insiders say that Zaslav believes that the success of the merger, Insiders say that Zaslav believes that the success of the merger, one that has left the company highly leveraged, will rest in no small part on unlocking the full potential of the DC Comics universe of characters. Discovery insiders believe that although DC has achieved cinematic success with recent films such as Aquaman and The Batman, it lacks a coherent creative and brand strategy. Discovery believes that several top-shelf characters such as Superman have been left to languish and need to be revitalized. They also believe that projects like Todd Phillips' Joker are shining examples of how second-build characters from DC's library can and should be exploited. Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is another example. Is it hyperbole to say I've been waiting for over a decade to hear this kind of stuff? That I've been waiting for somebody to come along and say, holy crap, you know what? DC characters matter. We should be treating them with some respect. We should be creating a creative outlet and a creative flow and structure that allows them to flourish and do well. We should get creative and business acumen put in there to oversee and bring some synergy to this whole thing instead of this disparate thing that Warner Brothers has constantly fostered. They also talk about how, yeah, we recognize shared cinematic universe, but we also recognize we got to exploit things like the Joker that are outside of all that kind of stuff. We got to start bringing this thing more seriously. We need to get somebody in charge who's got the vision for it, the business acumen to organize it all and to run it properly and to go from there. Look, I don't want to oversell it because this could all end in disaster, but I'm just going to say this. As a lifelong fan of DC characters, it is so refreshing for me to hear that this is at least the philosophy that David Zaslav and the folks at Discovery are bringing to DC and Warner Brothers, a strategy and an approach that has worked bonkers for them with all of their other mini networks that fall under Discovery, and they're going to bring that to this, because if it works small, it'll work big. As Jesus once said himself, he who's responsible with little will be responsible with much. And that's why I believe Jesus says that this is going to work. Jesus says that DC is destined for great things.
Happy Easter, y'all. Happy
Easter, everybody. He is risen indeed. So look, again, I'm acknowledging this could go very bad. It could still be same old, same old. This could just be a lot of talk and no action. But I, for one, am very excited. I've been telling you all for about a year now, since they announced that Discovery was going to take over Warner Media. I said, I think this is going to be a really, really good thing. And I think we're off to a good start. But again, Rob, talk is cheap. They're talking about it. Let's see what they can actually do. But you hear these words. What stands out to you when you're listening to this?
All right. I don't want to be the fly in the ointment on Good Friday. All right. I just want to say that I agree with you that all of this sounds great. It all sounds sound. Here's the problem. They don't have anyone that can do it. The problem, they're talking, all of this sounds great. It's all corporate speak. What they do not understand, they're looking at all of these things as yet another product. And here's what people will never, they just don't get. Kevin Feige is one of us. He's an imagination connoisseur. He's a geek. He's a nerd. He worked for Richard Donner. He worked for Avi Arad. He produced, in a producerial capacity, 14 Marvel projects before the MCU, if you include Man-Thing. It was 13, but if you include Man-Thing, it's 14. His life's work is to make Marvel product. And he understands it the way we as old school geeks do. And at the same time, he has been trained in how to make movies. There is no one.
There are thousands of them.
In working in Hollywood today, that have produced movies that are also geeks. that understand from a producerial capacity the reason Marvel is successful is because Marvel is the studio and they're also the creatives together. Warner Brothers has kept their studio structure separate from the creatives or underneath the executives. And the executives don't understand these properties. They are corporate entities. They're people that they're Ivy League educated business people. And they look at these properties as corporate product because that's what they were trained to do, which I understand. Kevin Feige is a story guy. He's a geek guy who also learned how to make movies. He's both. And what he does is he works synergistically with a filmmaker. He'll go and go, James Gunn has made $2-3 million movies, Slither and Super. That sensibility is amazing. Warner Brothers would never hire James Gunn before someone like Kevin Feige hired him. A studio like Warner Brothers will never hire an indie. Even Christopher Nolan had to come in and make Insomnia first. He'd made Memento, great indie film. Warner Brothers had to see, he made Memento, but can he make a studio movie? He made Insomnia, worked with 2 big Hollywood actors. Oh, this guy can work within the studio system. Nothing's going on with Batman. We'd love to resurrect Batman. We don't really know. But this guy, he's got something. Let's try him out. Kevin Feige doesn't try people out. Kevin Feige goes, you know what? I'm going to go get the Russo brothers. They've never made a franchise property, but I know that they can make Winter Soldier. I know they can do it. Warner Brothers doesn't have that.
Here, okay, let me remind you something of the major flaw in your logic here. You're missing, there's a gaping hole in your logic here. This isn't the Warner Brothers that we had last week. This is under a brand new owner who has shown with 7 different networks that he knows exactly how to facilitate, how to empower, and how to finance, how to support, and let that go. You're talking about a Warner Brothers that doesn't exist anymore.
No.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about they still need a Kevin Feige. And I'm saying there isn't one. There's nobody, whether it's Emma Watts, there is no one in Hollywood that is trained and is the kind of geek person that Kevin Feige is. And the problem is they're going to wind up with the same, look, all their movies that have been successful, Todd Phillips with Joker, Christopher Nolan with the Batman movies, James Wan with Aquaman. Those were auteurs that were allowed to make what they wanted to make. They were not working under an umbrella of corporate synergy between all of these different franchises. Let's make Aquaman work into the Zack Snyder universe. They didn't have to do that. James Wan was allowed to make the movie he wants to make. Todd Phillips was allowed to make the movie he wants to make. Christopher Nolan made his Batman trilogy. What they're talking about is this synergy between all of these different characters, brands. They need one person who can produce movies and understand all of these properties. They don't have that. David Zaslav wants that. He absolutely would empower somebody, but he doesn't have the person he needs. He even says, he's like, I looked at Emma Watts. She doesn't want the job because Emma Watts is a studio executive. She's not a creative executive. She's great. I've been in a room with her. She's very, very good at recognizing things, but she's not Kevin Feige. And the problem is there isn't another one of him.
But here's the thing. I get so sick of this because I hear this all the time from everybody, all the things that only that person can do that. Well, we only say that because we've only seen that person do that.
Right.
Remember, Kevin Feige wasn't Kevin Feige until he was Kevin Feige.
No, but
right?
he was forged. It took years.
Yeah, but there are many, like you and I know a couple of producers who are absolute geeks and absolute thing. What I'm saying is that to say that Kevin Feige is the only guy who can do what he does, that's incredibly myopic. But because Kevin Feige himself wasn't that guy that everybody now knows and reveres.
No, but
until he kind of slowly grew into that. I believe there is somebody out there that, given the opportunity, given the support, given the empowerment, to actually, because that's one thing Warner Brothers hasn't do, because I would completely agree with you 2 weeks ago that Warner Brothers is not the place and they're incapable of doing it. They have a rotating door of whose leadership here and there. Now this person's in charge, now that person's in charge. It's like an NFL quarterback who's like, fuck guys, I've had 5 head coaches in 7 years. We need some consistency there, and Warner Brothers hasn't been that. But my argument is this: David Zaslav has proved, when everybody says it couldn't be done, who would have ever believed that Discovery could buy Warner Media? David Zaslav has proved
he's great
over and over and over and over and over and over again that he can take something and cultivate it, finance it, empower it, and to bring it to success. And I think it is folly to believe that he's incapable of doing that with
I'm not
DC.
saying he's
He
not
absolutely
incapable
is.
of it.
He will find the person that can do
Look,
it.
you know what? It was Bob Iger who brought Marvel into the fold. You know, and remember, the MCU started at Paramount. It was not Kevin Feige did not start
all
at
over
Disney.
the place, yeah.
But I mean Kevin Feige, who has produced, I mean, people say like Chuck Roven. Chuck Roven is a great producer, but he's a nuts and bolts producer. If you look at how many DC movies, who in Hollywood has produced 14 DC movies and came up under Avi Arad, worked for Richard Donner. The education, people talk about, the studios always want to hire Ivy League educated MBA business people. That's part of their hiring criteria. If you went by Kevin Feige and said, we want to hire somebody like Kevin Feige, who produced 14 Marvel movies, who worked for Richard Donner, who directed Superman the movie, there isn't anyone. And the problem is they want somebody who understands these characters synergistically, yet they can't also produce movies. And Kevin Feige has a skill set that has been honed over years, now decades, and no one ever in the history of Hollywood has done what he's done.
Not yet.
That's
but
right.
it can be. That's the thing. Everybody talks about something that can be done.
Right, but the question is, who is that person now?
Well, I mean, I don't know who that person is, but
thanks to Masterclass, you can watch Bob Iger
to teach you
how to
exactly
do these things.
No, but again, I think it's an incredibly limited point of view to say, well, this is the only person that's done it. That means nobody else can do it.
I'm not saying no one else
person.
can do it. The question is, he's looking for hires, and he went after, in this article, he went after Emma Watts.
Well, he didn't go after Emma Watts, but Emma Watts was in the running.
But there's probably, in terms of what he wants, I'll bet you there's less than 5 people they're looking at. In all of the people on this planet, there's probably 5. And none of them check all the boxes. And they're left with, well, what do we do?
Isn't that a problem in and of itself? To believe that we know what the boxes are, that Kevin Feige has done it this way, therefore, only that model can possibly equal success. We've seen 1,000 times that that's not the case, right?
Well, but
they don't have to find another Kevin Feige. They have to find somebody who's got the ability to do something in a different environment that Kevin Feige's in. And I just think the problem with Warner Brothers all these years has been they haven't had the vision, they haven't had the trust, they haven't had the stability, and they haven't had the foresight to empower somebody to evolve and become. Because remember, the key thing with Kevin Feige was that during this forging you're talking about, he was cultivated and he was given the width and the breadth to get those experience. And then little by little, he was entrusted, given that ability, and they stuck with him. That's something that Warner Brothers never did. And if Warner Brothers can get somebody who is bright, has a great creative mind, has a great sense of production, and understands Hollywood, and there are those people out there, and then gives them what they need to succeed like Kevin Feige has, it's not going to be easy. It's a 1 in 1,000. But it absolutely can work if you have the right leadership.
Look, all I'm pointing out here is that Feige worked on Singer's X-Men, Raimi's Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, Elektra, Daredevil, Punisher.
Yes, exactly.
And he saw all of these. He worked on all these projects.
But people would have looked at that resume and said, this guy produced all that shit. But Marvel saw that this is a guy with experience, and then they entrusted that.
Well, no. Remember, he was working for Avi Arad, too.
Yes.
He was working with what the Marvels was. I mean, when they were the architect, I mean, he created the MCU. The idea, and they started to the point where they're like, you know what we're going to try? We're going to try this. And what are we going to start with? Iron Man. Do you think Warner Brothers would have done that? Warner Brothers is a corporate structure. Kevin Feige was able to thrive without a corporate structure. And he created something that didn't exist before. Warner Brothers has a hard time. They would have a hard time dealing with that because they are a corporation. They have to make decisions where they're beholden to their shareholders. They don't have time to cultivate somebody.
You're acting like Kevin Feige didn't have direct reports and bosses. He had to answer to Ike Perlmutter. He was, as much as you like to pretend he wasn't, he was absolutely in a corporate structure the entire time. Like once everything started rolling. But the difference was, other than Ike Perlmutter, which I think we would agree, he had competent, forward-thinking leadership above him in the form of Alan Horn and Bob Iger. Because without them, there is no Kevin Feige.
You guys are missing the point. All of them had to answer to Mickey Mouse.
Right?
Well, no, I mean, no, but look, he didn't, look, Kevin Feige, here's the difference. When you're making a movie, when you're producing a movie, it doesn't matter who's the overlord, who's releasing it, what studio is releasing it. All you're concentrating on is that movie. You don't have to worry about corporate synergy. It's like, we have to make a good Spider-Man movie, a good X-Men movie, a good this. Now, Kevin Feige didn't have control over that. He saw what worked. He saw what didn't. He saw what directors could make things work. He saw what directors, not so good. He didn't have control. And he worked his way up, working on all these different things. Some worked and some didn't. His track record, but it wasn't his track record. His job was to get these movies produced. But what he learned was what makes one of these movies better than another. So when he went all in and they raised money to start the MCU and to make Iron Man, it was like, he was the guy that made sure Robert Downey Jr. got hired.
Let me just say
Warner Brothers would never hire Robert Downey Jr.
Again, you keep talking about Warner Brothers like it's still 2 weeks ago. This is a brand new company.
It's still a corporation.
But so is Disney. And I think,
yeah, but Disney acquired the MCU after it was successful.
Yes, but they are a corporation nonetheless. It thrived under that corporation. It grew under that corporation.
But they had autonomy.
No, they didn't. They did not have autonomy.
All right.
No. That's the fairy tale. They never had autonomy. If you don't think that Kevin Feige had to have every check signed, every decision approved by Alan Horn, Bob Iger,
of course he did.
So
but
that is the same corporate structure.
But they didn't interfere with his creative.
They absolutely did. They absolutely did. Kevin Feige talks all the time about the fact that he learned everything that he learned from Alan Horn, that Alan Horn protected him from some mistakes he was going to do. That means there was obvious corporate
Of course, because he understands how to work synergistically. That's his whole...
Because he had bosses that knew how to work synergistically.
Can I
give him that leeway.
Can I break this up one time? Just for a second. We all love DC. We like DC. They shouldn't touch the animation. I think the animation movies, I enjoy them. Whoever they put in the seat, they need time to they're going to fail, but they're going to need time to actually get into the flow of everything. And so as long as they give them a proper chance, I think they could succeed. As long as they agree with that person's vision and they strive to succeed, then it should only go up from here. You know what I mean? But that it doesn't, we can't name any names because who knows who it would be?
Right? The only thing that I would say about this is the difference is that you have to understand the characters, the universe, and the appeal. And how do these things work? You can't just say Batman is a corporate product without understanding why does Batman work? Why is Batman endured? And a guy like Kevin Feige understands that. Alan Horn does not. Alan Horn is a guy that understands how to get the money to make these Batman movies.
I 1,000% disagree with you. Kevin Feige would disagree with you. Kevin Feige has talked about the creative vision and how he understands it all. So I think you're dead wrong about that.
Well, I might very well be, but you know what? If that were the case, then all of our IPs that are owned by corporations would be successful.
But that's what I'm saying.
The Star Wars movies from Force Awakens to Rise of Skywalker dropped $1 billion in grosses. That's huge.
But they all made billions. And see, that's the thing. So under Disney, doesn't matter. Billions, except for one movie, billions. If you look at Disney structure, right? You got Disney Animation, huge success. Pixar, huge success.
They're allowed to make what they need to make,
but under the guidance, understanding, and authority of Alan Horn.
Of course, but Alan Horn's not telling Pixar what to make.
All I'm saying to use this is that I if you think that Kevin Feige's success is completely divorced from the fact that it was under the leadership of Disney and their leaders,
I don't.
That's okay. So here's the thing. That would be a more coherent argument if it was the only thing that worked at Disney. Disney has a corporate structure and leadership with the right people in place, who know how to foster and let their individual things grow, develop, and become huge successes. One big mistake was George Lucas wanting Kathy Kennedy to be the head of Lucasfilm.
Done before Disney.
But that was done before Disney, right? So that's the one glaring error on the thing. But like you said, it was done before Disney. And yet they still make billions of dollars. My point is that if you look back at the track record of Kevin Feige and what he was before, nobody would have looked at him and said, unless you were a leader with great vision and you were able to understand what was there, most people would have looked at Kevin Feige. Everybody watching this show right now would have looked at the list of the movies that he produced and all that kind of stuff. And those of us with more limited vision would have gone, well, he would be a terrible choice to run a studio. But there were other people who realized, as you have pointed out, no, this guy's got experience. He's got a passion for this subject matter. Let's invest in him. Let's give him some trust. Let's let him start to develop stuff himself. And what I'm saying is, to believe that can never be done again with anybody else,
I'm just saying.
I just don't think, I think that's a very short-sighted view. I think somebody else can do that if given the right set of circumstances as Kevin Feige was given.
Look, who's going to have time from 2000 to 2008? All those comic book movies that were made in those 8 years. Kevin Feige worked. He didn't have control. He could work on them in a producerial capacity, but he himself could not exert control and go, that's not a very good idea, because he wasn't at that level yet. What he did was he took everything that he learned, the right things, the wrong things, and then he was able to create the MCU.
So he grew into what he became.
Right, but you have somebody who's going to have 8 years to grow into that?
No, it'll be a different path. Everybody has a different path to where they're trying to get.
I'm just saying that David Zaslav is talking about hiring somebody right now. Who are you going to hire? They're looking to hire somebody right now.
I know, but most people would never have known the name of Kevin Feige before.
Right, I'm saying they would have, because he worked on.
Question is for you guys.
No. I gotta get the heart of this, because essentially, like, you'll say, no, you're not saying this, but everything you've been saying is that no one else can possibly shepherd DC.
I'm not saying no one else can.
Okay,
I'm saying
no one can't find somebody?
I'm saying there is no one to find.
Yeah, so you are saying you can't find somebody. There's nobody to find.
There's nobody yet, right? They've had people.
Okay, we're going to move this over to Chris. Both you and I have talked on this way too much. Chris, your thoughts on this whole thing?
I really don't have a horse in this race, y'all.
How do you follow that up?
I was going to say, I was just causing chaos in the chat, being like, which dad do you want? Who do you agree with? We get Christmas and Hanukkah this year, everyone. No, I think it's a time will tell situation, right? I'm very excited about the prospect of having a designated studio, because why wouldn't you have done that in the first place?
You have to have that.
Yeah.
You definitely have to have a separate, so they're not always under the watchful eyes. Maybe they could.
They need to have their own people who are focused in this comic book world and making these comic books the love letters they should be. That's the big thing, is you just need somebody who's passionate, has a clear vision, and that might be difficult to find the right vision, right?
Yeah.
So, time will tell.
Because under Warner Brothers, the Harry Potter series has done well. It's not impossible to get a franchise or a whole set of things to be good, right? Basically all the Harry Potter movies in general.
One of the most successful franchises.
Yeah, we're good, right?
Do you know why that is?
No, John. No.
No, but I'll tell you why. Because Diane Nelson, who used to be the president of DC Entertainment when she was before she was head of global brand management and Warner Premiere, she was the woman who brought J.K. Rowling into the studio, and she said, "Listen, we will bring you and make you a part of this project," and because she wasn't going to sell. It was Diane Nelson who said, "We will give you oversight over your own property." And she was instrumental in making sure that Harry Potter was kept pure.
So they did it once.
Right.
But that's a different thing. She wasn't a movie producer.
But everything is a different thing.
I will say there could and there probably will be another Kevin Feige. I just believe that. That's because us humans, we always improve upon improving. When that's why records are broken. There's always going to be another coming of somebody who does it better. And hopefully it'll be DC, the DC guy, because we will all benefit from it.
This is something they've been looking for a long time.
But the wrong people have been looking for it. That's been the problem. You've had a bunch of incompetent boobs over at Warner Brothers for so long that have never known who to look for, or were looking for the right characteristics in somebody. And that's why Warner Brothers for so long has had this constant merry-go-round of, now this person's in charge. Now Ben Affleck is one of the guys in charge. Now I can't remember the name of the comic book writer. They put one of the comic book writers. Jeff Johns. Now Jeff Johns is in charge. Now Anna Sarnoff's in charge. But now this person's in charge. And that's been part of the problem. But now you've got a new guy in charge. Now you've got your Bob Iger type in charge, and David Zaslav, who doesn't suffer that kind of bullshit. He's like, no. We're number one. We're going to create its own vertical and give them their own studio so that they have their own internal structure and their own internal process that is not a part of the overall company's process. And they are given a certain degree of autonomy that Marvel's been allowed to have over there. That's number one. Number two, we need to not have a committee of people, which is what Warner Brothers has been trying to do forever. They need to not have a committee. We need to dedicate ourselves to doing an exhaustive search to find a person that we believe will have the kind of vision that we can start to develop DC to reaching the potential that it's always had, but it's always been squandered under former leadership and management. What I'm simply saying here is that right now, Zaslav and the new leadership over there, now that they've kicked all the other dead weight out of Warner Brothers, they are doing everything right now. Now, it is not going to be easy to find somebody who can forget Marvel, forget Kevin Feige. It's not going to be easy to find somebody that can take a brand new studio, because that's what DC will be, a brand new studio, and take it to billion-dollar heights, because it's only really happened a handful of times in history where they're talking about Bond, Marvel, Star Wars, Harry Potter. It's only happened a handful of times in the century long of Hollywood history. It's not going to be easy. But Ray, what you said was exactly right. There's always a record broken and everybody says that will never be done again, but it is. And I think they can find somebody, hopefully, that will lead them to maybe not equal Marvel success, but there's always somebody next.
And they're off to a great start with the Batman. They got that right there already under them.
But you can't give credit to David Zaslav for that.
You can't do that. But it is a great start because people are excited to see the next one. So, like, you got at least something there with nothing.
Agreed. They Warner Brothers is best when they're picking auteurs to bring their own vision to the screen.
Just bring the Flash, please. Whoever it is, get this Flash movie out. Get this Flash movie out, even if it's trash.
It doesn't. So, you and I are gonna fight now.
Andy Muschietti is at Warner Brothers. They're friends of filmmakers. They've always been that way at the studio. And Andy Muschietti made the It movies, very, very successful. Give him the Flash, probably very successful. The same way that Todd Phillips did the Hangover movies. The same way that James Wan already proved himself at another studio. He made $1 billion. So, which is great.
Well, I just want to wish them luck, and hopefully we get something good from this reboot is much needed for DC. The studio, their own studio, like Chris said.
By the way, they never said they're rebooting.
Oh man, I meant just a reboot as a restructure.
I hope they do.
Yeah.
I think a reboot.
I think that'd be great. Clean slate.
Clean slate would be
because there's nothing on their slate because the Flash doesn't.
Because Marvel's by themselves right now on this island, and there's room for other people to join. Hopefully it's DC.
But it is, to Rob's point, though, it is going to take time. Because
a lot of time.
With Kevin Feige where he is now, Kevin Feige earned over time the fact that, like you were talking about Warner Brothers with a lot of auteur filmmakers, that doesn't exist at Marvel because everything is controlled by Kevin Feige, right? Every director who signs up with Kevin Feige has to understand Kevin Feige, our Lord and Savior Kevin Feige, he is the ultimate studio interference guy. Right? No director in Marvel is ever allowed to take their movie and make it whatever they want. Everything is overseen very, very carefully by Kevin Feige, and everything has to follow his blueprint. Was it Mark Ruffalo? I think you were quoting Mark Ruffalo the other day, who pointed out that, Kevin Feige doesn't get enough credit for how much he's actually in charge and makes all this stuff.
Dude.
So it's going to take somebody a while to build that level of trust.
We're 22 years into Kevin Feige producing Marvel movies.
14 into the MCU.
14 into the and 22. I mean, That and before that, working for Richard Donner at Warner Brothers in the 90s.
That's a hell of a head start.
Yeah.
Against this new guy.
It's going to take time. It's definitely going to take time. But Warner Brothers, part of the things that we've always criticized Warner Brothers about is that they've had no sense of patience. I was just watching a Grammy Award win. I don't know who it was. I saw this clip on YouTube somebody played for me. It was somebody winning an award. It might have been a Lifetime Achievement Award. And they said, slowly is the fastest way to accomplish something.
Oh, it's the actor from Hadestown.
That's who it was. Yes.
Yeah.
Slowly is the fastest way to accomplish something. And one of the big problems that a lot of people have criticized Warner Brothers for over the years is that they just try to come out of the gate and be what Marvel already was. And I think if they can, number one, stay patient, number two, focus on making good movies, and then start to give more trust to somebody to be more studio interference and be that studio interference like Kevin Feige is, that can actually coordinate and run that whole thing, it's going to take time. Because you're right. As of right now, there is nobody like Kevin Feige, but there are a number of people who are Kevin Feige as he was a decade ago.
But, also, I find like they're talking about making the synergy between all the DC characters.
That's what Kevin Feige does for Marvel.
I think what Warner Brothers has done is something different. The Nolan Batman trilogy.
Yes.
Constant success. James Wan, out of the gate, $1 billion. There's no reason to think Aquaman 2 won't make another
Very
billion.
excited for that.
So that could be another trilogy. So if and you've got Andy Muschietti doing I don't know about whether there's going to be more that's a different thing.
I trust Andy Muschietti.
I mean, you've got homeboy, what's his face, who's making Shazam.
Oh, the Lights Out guy.
David. Yeah.
No, not Jermaine Colette. It's,
why am I drawing a blank?
Sandberg.
Sandberg. Sandberg, he's doing it. He might, I would imagine his Shazam trilogy will, again, if he does a trilogy.
Hopefully.
So Warner Brothers, their strength as a studio has always been to support filmmakers. That's what they do best. Clint Eastwood has been at Warner Brothers, Malpaso for 45, 50 years?
Yep.
That's their strength. That's always
those relationships.
Sometimes you also got to recognize when your strength is actually holding you back a little bit. And in the case of Kevin Feige and Warner Brothers, one of the problems with Warner Brothers being, I think with everything else it's great, but with Warner Brothers, I think that strength of theirs has been a weakness because it's prevented them from creating a cohesive cinematic world the way Kevin Feige was able to create a cohesive cinematic, because every director was just allowed to do whatever they want to do. And while that is great for a regular studio making regular movies, if you're trying to create a cohesive cinematic universe, you can't just let all the directors run around making whatever they want, right?
Can't.
I think they need to, if they can't do it, they just need to drop the whole shared cinematic universe. I've enjoyed all their one-offs or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think what they look at is the big payoff. If we have a shared universe, we'll make all these movies, and then we'll have those big movies at the end where we put all of it together and get all that money. I just think they're looking ahead way too much and trying to connect way too much. Well, they just need to get some successful franchises. Mm-hmm. Like, let's say this next Shazam movie or Black Adam movie is good. Keep that director, have him direct the sequel. Hopefully it's good. And then you do that with The Flash and everything else. And then you could start concentrating on how to connect things.
Well, look, I would say this too. The one advantage that I think, something that Warner Brothers could do better than what Marvel has done, and you were just alluding to this, Rob, was the idea that, hey guys, not everything has to be shared cinematic universe.
Yeah.
Why don't you have a shared cinematic universe and have some thrilling, fantastic one-shot or standoff isolated movies like Joker, like The Batman? That's one thing that I really wish Kevin Feige would do as well. It's like, hey, you got the MCU. Now tell some one-off stories that aren't connected to the MCU. And that's one way that Warner Brothers might be able to differentiate themselves a bit, do you think?
Look, as you have pointed out, David Zaslav, great success. He Discovery bought Warner Brothers. And
I still can't wrap my head around that.
And why you and I have talked about, we're both very excited about his tenure at Warner Brothers. He has allowed the creatives, he said this, of his various shows, he lets them do what they do. And having a corporate overlord that feels that way is great. It's great. And I love, like you're pointing out, this new philosophy. Awesome. I'm excited. I love Warner Brothers. It's probably my favorite studio. My only point about this whole thing was that it's going to be hard to find somebody.
And on that, we agree. It ain't going to be easy.
No.
It's going to be hard.
But I think we also agree that we're very excited about David Zaslav tenure at the studio.
So excited.
And I don't want to ever, like, with this conversation we got into, I want people to not understand. I thought this was a quality debate. This is why the show is good.
Oh, yeah.
The internet gets very worried and thinks you guys are going to get a divorce.
Oh, no,
Everyone's
God.
fine.
No. But because
It'd be boring if
we're
everyone
both
thought the
coming
same
at this from
thing.
the same place. I mean, I love this new regime at Warner Brothers. I think it's going to be great. I'm only worried because I won't mention something.
Please don't say Star Trek.
It's in Joanna, baby.
I didn't say it. But I'm just saying that having a guy like David Zaslav is going to be good for Warner Brothers.
Can we say this? That, first of all, you liked what we just heard from David Zaslav and what
I did.
I
Because the idea is sound.
Right. So can we agree here? Do we all agree when we say, if I say, make this statement, today, DC is in a better position for potential success than it was yesterday?
Absolutely.
Yes.
That is something we can all get
100%.
excited.
And there's more of a chance we get a 90-Day Fiance movie
Oh,
Over your ear.
with Chip and Joanna, baby.
Chip and Joanna coming into the DCU. They're going to be the Wonder Twins, Chip and Joanna.
Oh my God.
Hey, DC ain't the only big boys under this new merge. There's Chip and
Shiplap
Joanna, baby.
Yep.
Wow.
Property
Shiplap.
Brothers.
Wow.
Property
Okay.
Brothers
Brothers.
coming into the MCU. It's gonna
90
be a
Day
glorious
Fiance.
movie.
You cast as the Property Brothers if you
No,
made a movie.
you have the Property
them.
Brothers.
But wouldn't you have to cast movie stars to play them?
No, they
No.
are stars. What are you talking about?
This is their moment.
The Property Brothers?
Okay.
They are the biggest stars in the world.
One of them's dating Zoe.
Married.
Married to her?
Married Zoe Deschanel.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Wow.
They're
Well,
cute.
I mean,
Then I
that's
expect to see a
big-
Property Brothers movie greenlit momentarily.
Oh, no, forget Property Brothers movie. They're coming into the MCU.
DCU?
DCU.
Listen, Avengers headquarters need to be rebuilt.
I'm shocked.
It's like, how do we rebuild
Oh, God.
Avengers headquarters?
Damage Control,
We need
starring
the
the
property.
Property Brothers.
No, we got 5 of us in here, Jonathan, trying to make coffee, but it's just not enough room in here. It doesn't work. The kitchen doesn't work for us.
I know shared bathrooms was a deal breaker for all of you.
That's right.
So,
No shared bathrooms. Well, I can help with that. I mean,
All
it's
right.
going to be awesome. Damn it, my watch keeps on. My watch keeps waking
off
up.
the rails.
All right.
Your watch just said it's nice to be right to
It's
you.
nice to be right. Question is, for you guys,
Your technology reinforces your point of view.
what do you think?
I don't have that.
What do you think about the new statements, what we're hearing coming from Warner Brothers? The new sheriffs are in town, and they're saying it's time to shake things up. DC needs its own studio. DC needs to have its own vertical. DC needs to have a singular figurehead in it to help guide and direct it under David Zaslav, who's kind of filling the Bob Iger role here. Do you think this puts DC in a better position for success than it did, say, under the old Warner Brothers regime? Maybe, hey, listen, talk is easy, though. Talk is cheap, and it's going to be real difficult to see if they can get the right people in place. Whatever you guys think about that, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. This debate has made us all a little bit hungry, so I'm thinking about HelloFresh. Hey guys, we want to take a moment and thank a sponsor of today's video, HelloFresh. So guys, look, my wife Ann and I were both working professionals, so we know how tricky, difficult, and time-consuming it can be to try to eat properly and prepare your own meals at home. And that's why, like over a year ago, we started using HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. I mean, you skip the trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and probably most importantly, affordable. HelloFresh offers the flexibility you need to easily customize your orders online or right in the app. Easily change your delivery day, food preferences, and plan size, or skip a week whenever you need to. HelloFresh is 72% cheaper than a restaurant meal of the exact same quality, and you can save on average over $65 a month when you order HelloFresh instead of going grocery shopping. So guys, I'm telling you, whether you are single or have a family, you are going to love HelloFresh. So go to HelloFresh.com/Campea16 and use the promo code Campea16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. That's again, HelloFresh.com/Campea16 and use that promo code Campea16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. And special thank you to the good folks at HelloFresh for being a sponsor.
Well, I'm usually the guy that does
today's
that.
episode
Wow.
of the John Campea Show. Hey guys, listen. Normally,
hey, we're still friends, John.
Yeah, of course we are. Actually, we got someplace to go. Normally, this would be the type of the show that we would be going over to the super chats. However, today's a very exciting day because that went a little bit longer than we were expecting. But still, today's an exciting day because fact checker Jonathan is on his way over here right now. I sent him over to go and get the keys. He's on his way here right now. Actually, he might be. He's already here. So I've just been told fact checker Jonathan's already here. So we are heading out early. We're not going to be doing super chats today because the keys are here. We're going over to take a look at our new office space. That's ours now. That I'm very excited about. So we are going to cut today's show a little bit short. And it's a good time to cut things short. We're going into the weekend. I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend ahead of you guys. Have a great time. I want to thank all of you guys for spending time here with us today on this Friday. I hope you guys have a great weekend planned ahead of you. And again, I'm so excited. We're about to go over and look at the new office.
We will get to those super chats, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, the super chats will return on Monday. We haven't opened up the super chats yet. So it's not like we have a bunch of super chats that are waiting. We just didn't
that's
open them.
good.
Yeah. So no super chats are waiting to be answered. We will get back to super chats, of course, again on Monday. But for now, thank you, everybody, for being here. Want to say thank you to, again, people around the thing. Robert Meyer Burnett is about to come over with me to see the new office. Robert,
John,
where can people follow you online?
Well, I just want to say I really appreciate the fact that we can have spirited debate together and still walk away friends. So thank you for that. I think we're setting a good example.
Then why are you guys going in separate cars?
Who said we are? I always drive in his car.
What? You told Ray and I we had to pick who we'd be with now.
Oh, man.
Wow, man.
All this is not true.
Why was
Not
John
true.
looking for glass to stick in between the Tesla?
I need
man.
plexiglass to put
You
between
can
us.
find me on Instagram at Robert Meyer or RM Burnett. You can find me on Twitter at Burnett RM. You can find me on my own YouTube channel, The Post Geek Singularity, or go to postgeeksingularity.com and write me letters.
Okay, also over here, Ray Ora. Ray, where can people find you?
I'll be finding Rob in the alley, face down in a pool of blood, with a murder.
He does train in an MMA gym.
So I will find me at Ray Ora with a 0. I'm just kidding. No
And of
doubt.
course, Chris Carr has been here. Chris, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at actor Chris Carr. Chris with a K, Carr with 2 R's.
You know what is funny, though? I got to say.
What?
I find it funny when you get to the end of a big, long debate, and at the end of all the debate, we all go, wait a minute. So we're all saying you can find somebody to run this. Yeah, we all agree. And we're saying that DC's in a better place now than they were. Yeah, we all agree. But we're saying it's going to be real hard to find somebody to do it. Yeah, we all agree. So what were we just arguing about for 25 minutes?
No, aviation gin, baby.
Aviation gin, everybody.
I'm saying there isn't anyone to find.
No. It's just going to be hard to find somebody to do.
Come on.
Right? That's what you said.
It's hard to find something that doesn't exist, like the Flash movie. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everybody. Talk to you next time. Have a good one. Bye-bye.